Hey, how you doing out there on this Wednesday? 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Hour number one of the drive. We're ready to get started, and we got a lot of stuff to go through here today. It's going to be a sort of an unusual day. We're going to do some things a little differently, so you might want to hang around and watch all that. And we're going to start off with what I think is a pretty revealing soundbite I found from the year 2007 regarding Kamala Harris. Now, lately, you hear Kamala Harris all the time. You know, hey, Tim Waltz and I are both gun owners, and we're not out to grab your guns. Yesterday, she appeared before the National Association of Black Journalists and said that right off the bat when she was asked about, the need for gun control by some of the black journalists there. And she said, we're not out to grab anybody's gun. And then she spent literally about 4 minutes talking about all the ways she wanted to restrict your Second Amendment rights. It was very revealing. And so you got to wonder, she's changed on so many things. She's changed her position on fracking and everything else. I mean, it's a whole laundry list of things that she's now changed her opinion on because she needs to win, voters in Pennsylvania. But you got to wonder, where's her heart? Where does she really stand on all of this? And this little soundbite from 2007, she's there with Governor Newsom and she's the San Francisco district attorney at the time. And she holds a little press conference talking about a bill that they have paid that requires people to store their guns safely in the state of California. But it was the thing she said next that grabbed everyone's attention. And it tells you a lot about what I think her real position on the Second Amendment is. You ready? Listen carefully.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
She says if you own a gun, that's fine, but we may well just walk into your house and inspect how you're handling your guns. Well, so many things come to mind. But, I want you to hear it again. She's talking about how, we have now got this new law, and if you don't store your guns the way we think you should store your guns, don't be surprised if we come into your house and check on you.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Oh, how many constitutional violations is that? Oh, let me count the ways. She talks all the time when you try to pin her down on why she has flip-flopped on all these things. She says, well, my values haven't changed. My values haven't changed. Well, your positions, I don't know, most people base their positions in the things they believe based on what their values are. And if your values haven't changed, then I don't think you really have changed. This is a big issue. She's trying to be all things to all people, but when you really pin her down, when you really, try to get her to explain why she has flipped and flopped on things like this, and why now, she talks about, I'm not out to grab anybody's gun. Hey, I'm a gun owner too. She's trying to be everything to everybody at the same time, but she still has concerns about your AR-15. She thinks the AR-15 that I have properly stored in my home, by the way, she thinks that's an assault weapon and that she thinks that, they should be banned. She does. There's just no doubt about that. If you have an AR-15 style rifle in your house, understand she looks at that as an assault weapon that should be banned. Oh, we need that. Oh, we need this. And, we need that. But I'm not out to grab your guns. I'm not out to restrict your Second Amendment rights at all. Except that she is. One more time.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
This is the kind of thing that you're going to be having if Kamala Harris becomes president. This is the kind of nonsense that's going to start to happen. She says she'll come into your home to check and see, if you're doing with your weapons what she thinks you should do. Now, I mean, I'm all in favor of storing weapons safely. Don't get me wrong. I got my own gun safe, and I got all my weapons locked up. They're secure. But I got to tell you, if somebody shows up at my door and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Wilson, we're here to do your gun check," that ain't going to go well. That ain't going to go well at all. Some other stuff. J.D. Vance on the campaign trail today, absolutely mocking Kamala's messaging of late.
They'll say, well, Kamala, Vice President Harris, what is your plan to lower the inflation caused by your policies? And she'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. I believe in small business. And then everybody with an ounce of common sense is saying, well, you didn't answer the question. Or Kamala Harris, your policies led to an increase in energy prices, an increase in housing prices. What are you going to do to change that? Give us the specific idea of what you're going to do. And she'll say, well, when I worked at McDonald's, I loved making hash browns. And all the American people want, I think, from a person who would pretend to lead them is to actually answer some tough questions and stand before the American people and ask for their vote. And that's what she refuses to do.
So I think that's pretty good stuff there by J.D. Vance. Former President Donald Trump's favorability rates have climbed since August, while Vice President Kamala Harris's took a dip, according to the much-respected Gallup poll organization. They did a poll September 3rd through the 15th, random sample of 1,007 adults, and found that Trump's favorable rating is up 5 points. At the same time, Harris's came in about 2 points lower than Trump. And then, so there's two kinds of things to look at, your favorable and your unfavorables. Trump came in with an unfavorable rating of 53. That's down 2 points from 55. And Harris's unfavorable ratings, this is pretty important, was up above Trump's. It's up 5 points, and it now stands at 54% unfavorability rating. Something's going on out there. Sounds like, Gallup, very much respected. Sounds like people are not all that wowed by her in recent days. In Nevada, you hear a lot of things. Well, it's tight in Nevada, it's tight in Arizona, it's tight in all of these battleground states. But listen once again to the anecdotal evidence that comes from people who actually have walked the streets there, reporters who have gone there and talked to people. Here's Adriana Riaz of CBS News.
We had so much fun. But what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant. And we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person.
Yeah, so she says, that she can't find many people who are in support of Harris. Then you got John King at CNN talking to a couple of Hispanic guys in Nevada.
I've seen people on social media, Hispanics, sharing that post that I'm not with her. I'm like, whoa.
A lot of people are calling me, calling us and Latinos, they're talking about voting for Trump.
So where does that come from? Is it they think he'll make the economy better?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Well, that's pretty interesting, I think, don't you? That he's going to make the economy better. Wow. So, when you talk anecdotally, sometimes you get a very different feel than what you get when you take a poll. Isn't that interesting? Kamala Harris still talking in circles.
When we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
Oh, well, that's a deep thought. We almost need to do that as a deep thought. Deep Thoughts by Kamala Harris. The topic, children of the community.
When we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
Well, there you go. Kamala also talks a lot about how she's going to give everything to everybody. She's spending money. She's got all these plans, but they all sound pretty expensive.
We fight for a future where we can build what I call an opportunity economy. Let's just do the work of giving first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance. We will also cut taxes for working families, including restoring and expanding the child tax credit. It has been about expanding health care for more Americans, including dreamers. It has been about forgiving billions of dollars in student loan debt.
Now she's going to do all things for all people, and don't worry about it. Sure, it's going to be expensive. You know, the thing that is not really said here, and let me just say it, is that you're not going to get any of this stuff through the Congress. We're headed for another divided Congress, and that means nothing moves. So, she's got all these grandiose plans. She's promising chicken in every pot. Where's it going to get? How are you going to pay for all that? You can't pay for it without Congress being on board, and Congress is not very likely to be on board. This was noted by Speaker of the House Mike Johnson.
Comrade Kamala Harris, as President Trump is known to call her now, wants to take it to a whole different level. I mean, if you follow her around on her little campaign speeches, all she's talking about is more centralized price controls and new government spending programs, and everybody gets a car. It's like Oprah's running for president.
Everybody gets a car. It's like
210,000 unsolicited voter registration applicants were sent out in Democrat Texas County in absolute defiance of an order from the Attorney General of the state. Hundreds of thousands of residents in the San Antonio area may have received voter registration applications this month without asking for them after county leaders approved a mass mailing in defiance of Republican Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. On September 2nd, Paxton sent a letter to Bexar County, a heavily Democratic region of Texas where San Antonio is located, demanding that officials there strongly reconsider sending out the applications. In the letter, Paxton expressed concerns that such an unsolicited application potentially confuses residents about their eligibility to vote and maybe even convince some unscrupulous ineligible residents to circumvent state and federal law and provide false information that would allow them to register to vote. The target of the mailing, qualified individuals who recently moved to or are within Bexar County, have received those forms and perhaps have already returned them. Either way, it's illegal, and if you move forward with this proposal, I will use all available legal means to stop you, says the Attorney General of the state of Texas. Finish with this. Here's what the 2020 election's most accurate pollster says about the current election. You ready? He's with a group called Atlas, and they had the best rating. They got it closer than anybody else in the 2020 election. He says, my analysis is deeply rooted in numerical data presented, and it presents a more conservative outlook. I'm very much oriented by the numbers we have, and I believe in those numbers, and I think that about how this plays out, swing state by swing state, and that's something we'll be releasing to you next week. I would give Trump, you ready, a 70% chance of winning, and Kamala a 30% chance. He emphasized Trump currently holds a built-in advantage that could be difficult for Harris to overcome, but not impossible. 20 minutes now past the hour. Hey, something awesome is happening at Genesis Diamonds this Friday through Sunday. I mean, this is big. I mean, really, you've been hearing about this. I can't stress to you how much this is a big deal. A 3-day designer engagement ring event showcasing the world's top 2 brands in bridal jewelry, Tacori and Verragio. Tacori is from California, Verragio from New York, both here with their entire lines, including all new rings for this special event. You can explore hundreds of exquisite American-made design designer rings. Plus, Genesis will have special incentives, zero interest financing, and up to $5,000 in instant savings. In addition, Genesis has an expanded selection of GIA-certified diamonds for the 3-day event, all shapes, all sizes. It's rock-bottom prices on the big rock that you want. This is the best of the best. Every Tacori ring handcrafted by master artisans with exceptional quality. Every Veragio ring made by hand with unmatched attention to detail. These are brands other jewelers only wish they could offer, but at Genesis, they have the entire Tacori and Veragio collections, and they'll all be on display this weekend. Don't miss the bridal jewelry event of the year, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Genesis Diamonds in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hezbollah under attack again. Slightly different than yesterday. Got a Fed rate cut and Teamsters making headlines in our election 2024 update coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And there he is. He's Ken Weaver, the bearded wonder. The other bearded wonder is Chris Webber. He's there in the control room pushing all the blinky buttons.
Where's your beard, Brother Brian?
Well, I started it back again today.
All
I shaved it off earlier, and Cabana wife told me, grow it back. Now I got okay.
If you don't touch it by Christmas, you'll look like Santa Claus.
There you go. Maybe.
That's better than looking like a garden gnome like me.
I'm telling you, you do sort of look like a garden gnome.
You put a little
pointy hat on you,
yeah.
and you got it.
I'll start reaching behind kids' ears and pulling out butterscotches.
Oh my God! I forgot it when I was doing the 2024 report a few moments ago. That the Teamsters have decided that they're not going to endorse anyone.
Yeah.
They're not. They're trying to have it both ways. And here's the truth. They did a poll of the membership of the Teamsters. 58% said they supported Trump, and 31% said they supported Harris. And yet they've decided not to make an endorsement. We'll just stay out of it this time. So I understand the man in charge of the Teamsters, the president of the Teamsters Union, is about to be on TV, so maybe we'll get a little more information about that.
You think my Sooners can do that this weekend against the Vols?
No,
Can we just stay out of it?
I can. Yeah, we'll just show up and wave. We're not going to play you.
You can't lose that way.
Yeah.
I guess officially.
Yeah. I got bad news for you. Your Sooners are going to get crushed.
Wow.
Oh man, I hope you're wrong.
Well, we'll talk on Monday, won't we?
Yes.
The Feds have slashed interest rates by a half point. That is a bit of a surprise. I mean, some of the folks yesterday were saying, I think it might be a quarter point instead of a half point. That's a pretty big jump. Federal Reserve on Wednesday enacted its first interest rate cut since the early days of the COVID pandemic. That's been nearly 4 years now, slicing half a percentage point off benchmark rates in an effort to head off a slowdown in the labor market. With both the jobs picture and the inflation softening, the central bank's Federal Open Market Committee chose to lower its key overnight borrowing rate by a half percentage point or 50 basis points, affirming market expectations that had recently shifted from an outlook for a cut about that size. Now, outside the emergency rate cuts during COVID, the last time the FOMC cut by a half a point was in 2008 during the global financial crisis. Some people are saying, well, if they're cutting that aggressively right off the start, does that indicate that our economy is a lot softer than perhaps we thought it was? Well, I don't know, but we'll get John Maxson will join us here in a few moments. We'll get his take on all of that and how the market reacted. That's just straight ahead. Now, dock workers at key U.S. ports are threatening to strike, and it could be a very badly timed thing, because if they go to strike on October 1, it would shut down the ports that handle about half the nation's cargo from ships. And it would come at a very critical time, because, that's when the goods are moving to market for the Christmas season. The International Longshoremen's Union demanding a significantly higher wage and a total ban on the automation of crane, gates, and container movements that are used in the loading or unloading of freight at 36 U.S. ports. 36. There's 30. I didn't know there were that many. 36 U.S. ports. Whenever and however the dispute is resolved, it's likely to affect how freight moves in and out of the United States for many, many years to come. If the strike were resolved within a few weeks, consumers probably wouldn't notice any major shortage in retail goods, but a strike that persists for more than a month could likely cause a shortage of some consumer products, although most holiday retail goods have already arrived, they say, from overseas. Well, that's a good news. But I don't know. It seems like to me, when you shut down the ports, you will really do shut down the economy. Remember when we had to shut down the ports for a bunch of other reasons and how tight everything got? It could be that again. American workers' wages are still losing the inflation rate. Bankrate reports U.S. prices have risen 20%. Wow, that's since 2021. And that wages rose about 17.4% on average since that same time. So you are behind the cost of inflation. Inflation is outrunning what you're making and bringing home. So there. Also, very quickly, I think this is cool. SpaceX Starlink, their satellite internet system that, you can have a little satellite dish and get internet wherever you are. They're about to install it on 2,500 airplanes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, isn't that cool? And I've experimented with Starlink. I thought it was pretty good. I thought their customer service was abysmally bad because you can't talk to a human. It's just not possible. You cannot find a human at Starlink to talk to if you have an issue. So I had to give up on it. But it's very fast. And that was when they were just barely getting started. So it's better now as they put more satellites up. That's 31 past the hour. Time for the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Still seeing that crash involving several vehicles. It is 440 eastbound to 65. The right shoulder there is blocked. And a day after pagers used by terrorists exploded, killing 12 and injuring thousands, Lebanon's health ministry says people were killed by explosions today. Reportedly walkie-talkies targeting Hezbollah terrorists. That was at a funeral today in Beirut. White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby says the U.S. was not involved in today's attacks either.
We want to see the war end. And everything we've been doing since the beginning has been designed to prevent the conflict from escalating.
Now, everybody suspects Israel, but Israel is not saying anything. Lebanese officials say at least 14 people were killed in today's blasts. And the Federal Reserve has moved to cut interest rates. Chairman Jerome Powell says the U.S. economy remains strong.
Overall, a broad set of indicators suggest that conditions in the labor market are now less tight than just before the pandemic in 2019.
The Fed reducing the federal funds rate 0.5% to a range of 4.75% to 5%. That reduction expected to trickle down to mortgages, credit card rates, and car loans. And election 2024, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, one of the most prominent and influential unions in the country, just announced it will not endorse any presidential candidate this year. Stephen Portnoy.
The Teamsters last declined to endorse in 1996, expressing disappointment with Bill Clinton for pushing NAFTA. But after endorsing every Democratic candidate since, the union says it won't back Kamala Harris, nor will it endorse Donald Trump. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien says neither candidate pledged they'd stay out of strikes that might involve railroads or airlines. And while Trump led internal rank-and-file polls, the Teamsters say he wouldn't vow to veto a national right-to-work bill that might undermine union security clauses.
Yeah, Trump led those internal rank-and-file polls by nearly 2/3. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
You know, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know who I trust if you have back pain. The Wellness Institute of Nashville. So if you're having back or knee pain, give them a call today at 615-246-5009 and get the help you need. But I want to talk now about something that's important to the folks at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and I think you'll think it's important too. They're throwing a community party in their backyard at the Charlie Daniels Park in Mount Juliet. The event is free. You heard that right. Absolutely free. It will also have country music legends performing. You'll have Brian White, Colin Ray will be performing live, a full concert set, and Colin is revealing a brand new song he's written for this event. You see, this will be honoring our local police officers, our firefighters, our first responders, and our veterans. Super Talk 99.7 WTN folks will be on location, as will folks from our sister station, 95.5 Nash Icon. So bring your lawn chairs, blankets, and get ready to party at the biggest community event Mount Juliet has hosted. The Love Our City concert, sponsored by Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley at the Wellness Institute of Nashville.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
38 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on the 18th day of September, a Wednesday, middle of the week, and it's my Friday. I'm going to be off tomorrow and Friday. Chris Hand will be here tomorrow, and Matt Murphy will be here on Friday, and I Vance, I thank them. But because that is the case, I feel like, well, we got to move things around a little bit, and Brian Wilson, with the power vested in me as a radio talk show host, declare that there will now be a Phone Your Farb Wednesday. That's right. What are you thinking? What's on your mind? Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you got a burr in your saddle. Maybe you got a bug in a place where I hope that you never have a bug. You know the number, 615-737-9986. Your opportunity to climb up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself. Get things off your chest. Talk about what's on your mind. We got all kinds of phone lines open. And I know I'm throwing you a curve. I mean, it's not Friday. It's Wednesday. But, you know, we're anything but flexible on this program. And as I stand here now, I noticed that I have 6 lines open. 6 lines open. This is your chance. This is your chance to participate in the conversation. Well, I don't know. Do we need to play the waiting music? Apparently.
We might have to do something.
Oh,
there they go.
Now they come in. It's funny how there's a delay on this kind of thing. You know, 615-737, and now here they come. 615-737-9986. Your chance to participate in our little round table. And this is, I mean, if you disagree with me on something, this is your chance to get it off your chest. If there's something going on out there and you feel like, man, I really have a strong opinion about that, I want to know what it is. Something that's connected to the news. 615-737-9986. And thank you. You've revived my strong opinion about our audience and how good they are. Stan in Nashville, you're on with Brian on the Drive. Stan, what's on your mind today?
Insurance companies. I'm fighting with all of them, all different types of them right now.
Yeah, what over?
Well, I don't think it's fair. My mortgage rate went up by $100 recently. And when I called to ask why, they say it's because your insurance went up. And when I called them to ask them why they almost doubled my insurance, it was because I had a claim 6 months ago. So my thinking is they punished me for doing what I pay them to do.
No, I know. Isn't that irritating? And you know, you're not alone, because I have seen a lot of things out there that have to do with in the cost of insurance, especially car insurance, going up dramatically, very, very high in recent days. So yeah, I know. But welcome to the Joe Biden economy, where everything costs more. Insurance companies. You're right, though. Everybody that I know is complaining about the cost of insurance going up. Well, don't worry. Kamala, she's going to fix it all, right? Don't worry about it. Joe in Pulaski, hello, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What's on your mind, Joe?
Okay, thank you, sir. Listen, there was a song came out in 1955. Big Joe Turner did it. It was called Flip, Flop, and Fly. I thought maybe if we changed the wording a little and said flip, flop, and lie, you might come up with something, a little jingle for
flop and fly.
Yeah, and if you change the words to flip, flop, and lie for Kamala, you might come up with something.
Well, I got to say, that's a little bit before my time. I wasn't even born in '55, but I got to tell you, I'm always looking for something, music that sort of sets up our segments. That's sort of one of the hallmarks of our program. And, Chris is sort of tied up now taking phone calls, but I guarantee you we'll do our best to find that for you. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that. That's a good one. Here's John out on the road. Hello, John. What's on your mind today? You're on with Brian on the Drive.
Hey, Brian. Wanted to do this Friday, but you're doing it today. But I wanted to thank you, since it was during your show, and WTN and the Music City Grand Prix for the great weekend I got to treat my grandchildren to. to the Grand Prix and Music City Grand Prix.
Hey, Chris and Steve, I didn't make it in yesterday.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we lost you there. But yeah, you know what? That whole thing, I got to tell you, is that's quite a facility they have out here in Wilson County, isn't it? I mean, that's really quite something. And it apparently was a very nice event. John, thank you very much for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. Gerald, out on the road. What's on your mind, Gerald?
Hey, the famous Brian. I'm glad to be talking to you.
No, you're welcome.
One thing I got to say, I know nobody said it, I'll say it and get in trouble, but, you know, it's something about the woman. They can't make up their mind on what route they want to take on anything they want to do. They always leave it up to a guy, then we end up getting in trouble for it.
You understand that, you know, I'm not going to step into that one at all.
Oh, no.
Gerald, I mean, there's no percentage in me even saying a word here. What are you trying to do to me? Listen, you're on your own with this one, pal.
See, I told you I'd step in it.
All right, Gerald, behave. We'll talk to you later. Thomas in Franklin, Kentucky. Hello, Thomas. What's on your mind today?
Hey, man, I'm going to ask you a question, man. Get it off speaker there. I appreciate the show.
Well, thank you.
The pages went off and stuff, how did the people all of a sudden know to start filming when it started blowing up?
I'm sorry.
Seriously.
I'm saying. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
It led them when all the pages went off.
Right.
How did the other people know to start filming that quick?
Well, the ones that I've seen were security. The ones I've seen, at least, are security cameras. That are running all the time. The one I saw was in a marketplace, and it exploded. The news story today, in case you haven't heard, is that now apparently walkie-talkies that were used by Hezbollah were blowing up, and a whole bunch of other people, apparently they were rigged as well. And they started blowing up, and people were seriously injured because it's a little bit bigger device. You can pack a little more explosive in there. And from what I've seen, the explosions were pretty significant. I've seen the aftermath. I haven't seen an actual one going off. But I'm telling you, that's a whole different game, isn't it? That the Israelis are playing right now. Karen in Cookeville, you're on with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind, Karen?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm well.
Well, good. You know, I listen to your show all of the time, and I've wanted to call and tell you this for the longest. I've lived in Lebanon. I now live in the Gordonsville area, and I know that Watertown is beautiful, but the word bucolic, to have such a gorgeous meaning, is just the ugliest word I've ever heard.
You think it doesn't sound like what it means, does it?
No, it sounds like something completely different. So, I don't know. For some reason, every time you say it I cringe.
I haven't said it in a while because, but I live in bucolic Watertown, and people say, have to look up the word bucolic. It means green, lush, and beautiful, and things like that. But it sounds like something you might have after you got a bad case of indigestion, like
COVID. I don't know. Disease.
I got me some of that bucolic going right now. Oh, that's what it sounds like. Sounds like a disease.
Enjoy your days off.
All right, Karen, thank you. Steve in Cookeville, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Steve?
How secure is Trump's airplane, both in the sky and on the ground?
Well, we know Air Force One is controlled by the Air Force, and I, having been on Air Force One a few times, can tell you it's very secure. The planes are owned, in this particular case, owned by Donald Trump. I think he has a 757 that he calls Trump Force One, and it's his plane, and he's responsible for the maintenance of it. And I would imagine that that the Secret Service has taken extra precaution to protect the plane when it's parked, etc., so that it's monitored. It's in a controlled space where it's under watchful eye of guards. But beyond that, I don't really know. It's really interesting because we count on the Secret Service to provide the protection, but there's so many things that when you're a candidate and you're not a government official, So many things that have to be provided by the campaign. They had a problem with his plane not too long ago. He was flying into Wyoming or Montana, and they had to divert because there was some kind of mechanical problem, and he ended up having to get on a smaller plane to complete the trip. But when you're Donald Trump and you got an Amex, platinum card, that's not a problem, I suppose. Larry in Nashville, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Larry?
Enjoy your show, Brian. Got a question for you about the illegals coming into this country. How come, is it a law that we have to pay for their education, food, lodging, and everything, or do they just think it's something they need to do?
I don't know that there's a law that requires it. Certainly the Biden administration has been very gracious with U.S. taxpayer dollars to make sure that these people are supported. They're very much in favor of illegal immigration. Don't get me wrong. They talk a big game. Oh, no, well, we shut it down. They haven't shut it down. This is all for show. They're still coming to this country. They're just not coming through the border. They're coming in on airplanes now through that app that they set up. That's still happening in a big way. It's just very hard to get a picture of it because you never know where those planes are and where they're coming in, or they're coming in on planes with other people. But the numbers are still very large. They're just not coming across the border anymore. All right, we'll have to cut it there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know that was a big surprise to you. You have to do this on Wednesday, but you did great. I'm so proud of you. It's 50 minutes now past the hour. Hey, do you own a piece of land out in the country on the bucolic rolling hills of Middle Tennessee? What are you doing with it? You say nothing. Well, why don't you do something with it? Why don't you build something? Invest in that land. Turn it into something more valuable. You should talk to the folks over at Stoltzco. If you're in the market for, let's say, a pole barn, and they can be done in so many different ways. Well, the two brothers that run Stoltzco are the guys you need to talk to. Known for exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices, they can build you a new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltzco difference. Think about the possibility of having a place that you can go on weekends, a weekend getaway place. Build a barn dominium. That's a barn that you live in. They're very cool and very popular. Pole barns can be used for garages. They can be used as a regular tool barn. They can be used as an equestrian space. Or maybe you build a special equestrian space. How about an event space? A place to hang out on the weekends where you can blow off steam and get out of the nitty-gritty city. One way or the other, you just go to their website, stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com. Take a look at what they've done for other people, and you'll get it. Give them a call, 615-622-5992. Talking about stoltzco.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Kentucky police say a body has been found near where there's been a 12-day manhunt. We've got more explosions in Lebanon, a Fed rate cut, and Teamsters bucking a trend after internal polling shows the presidential candidate they favor. Coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it is 57 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Big news today on the markets, and it all has to do, not really with the markets, but the Fed's action. John Maxon is here to give us those numbers. Let me give you, before we do that, let me give you the actual numbers from the day. Dow Jones Industrial down 103, S&P down 16, the NASDAQ down 54, rate cut of 0.5%, John Maxon. I think we're all a little surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. I said yesterday I thought it would be a quarter point. That's an aggressive start. And, it was interesting. It was a narrow majority. 10 of 19 of the Fed officials voted for a half a point versus a quarter point. So it was pretty close. The market initially liked the cut. The S&P was up about 1%, but then we got the sell-off. When Chairman Powell actually interviewed, he said not to count on cuts like that the rest of the year. In fact, they're projecting about another half a point cut. But he said that bigger rate cut was driven by some downside risks that they saw to the labor market. And so unemployment certainly has started to creep up a little bit. The market doesn't like uncertainty. In the end, it interpreted that as a weaker economy. So it's important to watch in the coming days, but a much bigger cut than what we expected.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And find out more about all the things that John Maxon and the good people at Beacon Capital Management could do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It's 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes, and right now we're monitoring reports out of Kentucky. A body has been found along I-75 in Laurel County. This is near where there has been a 12-day manhunt for 32-year-old Joseph Couch. He's the suspect who allegedly shot 5 people earlier this month. However, authorities have not released the identity of this body discovered today. Right now in the Middle East, another round of explosions in Lebanon, seemingly targeting the terrorist group Hezbollah. This was at a funeral today in Beirut.
Roll.
That funeral for 4 people killed in yesterday's explosions involving a different device. Here's Martha Raddatz.
I believe, according to sources, that it was walkie-talkies that blew up. This is yet another communications form for Hezbollah members. Quite extraordinary. They wouldn't stop using any devices after what happened when more than 2,800 people were wounded, most of them believed to be Hezbollah operatives. But again, that wave of explosions, it's spontaneously but very, very well organized.
Lebanon's health ministry reporting at least 9 people killed and 300 injured today. The Federal Reserve is moving to cut interest rates. Here's Derek Dennis.
The half-point cut is larger than a quarter-point cut many analysts had expected, and it signals an aggressive move by the Fed in its ongoing effort to tamp down on inflation. Many say it's a real milestone for the U.S. economy, a victory in a sense because it could start a trend by the Fed to gradually lower interest rates over the next year. Car and mortgage loans, credit card interest, all expected to get cheaper with this Federal Reserve rate cut.
Election 2024, the Teamsters Union, representing more than 1 million members, withholding its support from either major party candidate this fall. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The Teamsters endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. But this year, union leaders say neither Kamala Harris nor Donald Trump made the commitments necessary to earn the Teamsters' formal endorsement. 2 rounds of internal polling showed most rank-and-file members favored Trump over Harris. But Teamsters President Sean O'Brien, who spoke at the Republican convention, said neither candidate is pledging not to intervene in possible strikes against railroads and airlines.
Yeah, Trump's lead of that internal polling was nearly 2/3. Security is expected to be very tight for the former president's rally tonight in Long Island. It'll be Trump's first since Sunday when a gunman was arrested in what the FBI calls an apparent second attempt on his life. Meanwhile, in our nation's capital, members of Congress don't think the Secret Service is doing enough to protect him.
Republicans say agency action is needed now to better protect Donald Trump. And House Speaker Mike Johnson says more money for the Secret Service won't provide an immediate solution.
Even if we gave them $3 billion tomorrow, it's impossible to hire 2,500 new Secret Service agents in a short period of time.
Johnson says he's asked the White House to order the agency to ramp up Trump's protection so it's equal to President Biden's. The Homeland Security Secretary says when it comes to Trump's campaign events, the protection is, quote, quite approximate.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is hour number 2 on the drive on this Wednesday, September 18th. Are you doing okay out there on the highways and byways? Let's get you home, make you run your errands, whatever you're doing out there. Let's get you home safely while we bring you news and information and maybe a smile or two. That's our goal. A little song, a little dance, a little seltzer in your pants. That's what we're all about. I've been waiting since Ken Weber came on to the afternoon circuit and joined us on the afternoons. I've been waiting to find a story. Ken, are you there? Oh, yes. Yeah,
I'm here, brother.
I want to make sure you're here because this is for you.
Okay.
We're going to have, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Since you've come on board, I've been looking for it. We now have us a scooter story. If you're watching on Super Talk TV, I hope you're getting this.
He's going to dislocate a shoulder.
Ken loves this so much.
Yes.
Because, when they first came, the first ones that arrived in Nashville, and they started, zipping around the city, they were bird scooters.
Yes.
And so we just made, hold it, there's the drum solo.
You won't have to go on that walk later, Ken. You'll get your exercise right here.
That's right. So we started playing the bird song, and it's one of Ken Weber's favorite. And by the way, once you hear the song, it's in your head all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You can't get rid of it. It's like an earworm. It never fails. It never disappoints. But unfortunately, I want you to know that the story that I have for you, sadly, is not about bird scooters. So we can get rid of that.
At least we got to hear the song.
I know. Well, it's all, the whole time. Anytime I do a scooter story, it's just so we can play the song. I mean, that's all it's about. I mean, I got to get my happy moments, when I can, and that always makes me happy. This is more about the other competitor, the Lime scooters.
That one ain't quite as easy to dance to, but, you can make do.
Doctor! He said, Doctor. All right. Let's get to the story. We have to have a payoff here or people are going to get irritated. This is just, any scooter story is just a good reason to have good music. The electric transportation company Lime wants to put, are you ready for this, more scooters in Music City.
That's what we need.
Yeah. Lime wants to add 50 more scooters to its fleet around downtown Nashville. The Nashville Department of Transportation will discuss whether to approve the adding of more Lime scooters during their meeting on Thursday afternoon. NDOT has approved requiring age verification to ride electric scooters and bikes.
I thought you already had to do that.
I thought so, too. That was in May they did that, to keep people from under 18 from riding around town. The change means companies would have to add facial recognition to their app before someone can rent a scooter or a bike. Lime launched in Nashville in August of 2018, and we've been making fun of them ever since. The company has added new seated scooters to the fleet, which also feature a storage compartment to help riders carrying more items.
I haven't seen those yet.
I haven't either.
Those would at least be a little bit safer, I would think.
Yes.
Who is, I forget, is it Harry Nielsen that does this song?
That's right, yeah.
Nielsen
Schmielsen.
Let's go right back into the deep archives. Harry Nielsen Schmielsen. Crank it up. Yeah. Woo-woo. Someday when I'm feeling really rebellious, I'm just going to decide I don't want to talk about news. I'm just going to play my favorite songs for 4 hours.
Is this one going to be on the list?
I don't know. It might be. It's sort of growing on me the more I think about it.
I don't think I've ever been as just blitzed as this guy had to have been whenever he wrote this song.
Well, if you know anything about the history of Harry Nilsson, you know that's probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably true. All right. Enough of that nonsense. That was just really so we could see Ken Weaver do the bird dance, honestly. If you were watching on Super Talk TV, you got a real treat. If you weren't, it's something you can't unsee.
But if you were just watching on TV, you probably think that Ken was having some sort of medical emergency because you couldn't hear the music.
That's right.
Ken's just
That's right.
vibrating all over the room.
I forgot about that. People who listen on television, we can't play music on television. We have to strip it out. So there's just a bunch of the dead air for a lot of people as far as
just us laughing at Ken convulsing.
There might be some firefighters outside right now.
Oh, Lord, I hadn't thought about that. What a weird experience it must have been for you watching on TV.
It's all right, boys. Little fella was just dancing.
I'm going to have to go back later and rewatch just to see what it looks like.
All right. Real quick, we have, you may have heard in the last segment, before this nonsense gets completely out of control, that the Fed has dropped the interest rate, the prime rate, by 0.5 point. And that's a big surprise to a lot of people. Stephen Forbes says it feels political to him.
If they were going to do something, they could have done it this summer or even this spring, or wait till after the election. They have a meeting in November, just days after the election. They could have done a big one then, and no one could have accused them of playing politics.
Yeah, well, I mean, is it political? It's coming just before the election. They could have waited. He's absolutely right until after. But no, I think it is political. It does feel political to me. The other big story is that the Teamsters union, which has always sort of leaned toward, I think the last time they endorsed a Republican was George H.W. Bush. They almost always endorse a Democrat. And they took a polling of their membership and found that of the members, 58% supported Trump and 31% supported Harris. There's another poll out there. It was an online poll, similar. Overwhelming support for Donald Trump among the Teamsters. So you might think that the Teamsters were going to endorse Donald Trump. No, they decided to not endorse anybody.
We interviewed both candidates, and we were seeking commitments from both candidates, and we couldn't get solid commitments on our core issues like the PRO Act, like veto and national right to work, like staying out of labor disputes and not trying to force any contracts on us, like what happened to our brothers and sisters in the rail industry. We didn't get solid commitments from either candidate, which was a major factor in our decision as a General Executive Board not to endorse any candidate. However, we did a lot of polling, as you know, and the polling leaned heavily towards former President Trump. So that tells you that
very heavily, Sean. And I'm just wondering, do you look disconnected from your members?
No, we're definitely not disconnected from our members because, look, we did extensive polling that was important. Our goal as leaders, as union leaders, as leader of the Teamsters, is to provide the ability for people to have a voice and to provide credible information. And we cannot dictate to our members. Our members are sophisticated. They're going to make their own decisions. But this is a bigger problem. You know, the Democrats have always taken for granted that they're going to get our vote no matter what. And the Republicans are fancying themselves as the working people's party. I think right now both sides have to take a step back and really reevaluate what their commitment is to working people. And
that's John O'Brien from the Teamsters Union. You know, when I worked in Washington at Fox, our Washington bureau was at 400 North Capitol, just between Union Station and the Capitol, and we were up on the 5th floor. And that window that you see in the background with the Capitol Dome, that's actually, it's not like, you know, a green screen. It's not some kind of superimposed image. It is really actually the Capitol Dome. And the Teamsters Union building was immediately next to the building that we worked out of. And they represent members in the United States and in Canada. So they fly a U.S. flag and a Canada flag. which comes right up to the 5th floor window. So a lot of times, when the wind was really gusty, you would see glimpses of a Canadian flag, flowing in the background while we were trying to use the dome shot, as we called it. That's how close it was. So he apparently just walked over next door to give that interview to Neil Cavuto this afternoon, explaining why it is that even though their membership supported Donald Trump, they are not going to offer any endorsement, and he gave the justification for that. It really does feel sort of to me like it is very political. The politics of the matter. It really does help the Biden administration. It helps the Harris campaign. To see that, well, now finally we're cutting interest rates. Better for the Harris campaign that happened now than after the election, when it wouldn't have done them any good at all. It feels political to me, not driven by the data, because they said they weren't going to do this until inflation got down to 2%, and it's still not down to 2%. It's close, but it's not quite there. So they believe that this 0.5 percentage point, which is bigger than many people thought would happen. Now, the other thing to think about is, how does this then reverberate? Well, it reverberates because your interest rates on credit cards could come down a little bit, your interest rates on mortgages, if you need mortgages, although some people say that's already been built in. The mortgage companies have already figured out that was going to be a rate cut, and so it's sort of built into their numbers. But one way or the other, it's been really hard for a lot of people to get mortgages or to do anything like a refi because interest rates were so high. At least now we have a step toward bringing those interest rates down. The real question is, did they go a 0.5 point because they wanted to help the Harris campaign? Or did they go a 0.5 point because they're worried that the economy is cooling too quickly and we could be headed toward a recession? It will, who knows, trying to figure this stuff out. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. You've heard me talk about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You know that's where I go with my back pain and my neck issues. And if you are having back, knee, or neck issues, give them a call today at 615-246-5009 and get the help you need. But I want to stop now and tell you about something very important to the folks at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They're throwing a big community party in their backyards at the Charlie Daniels Park in Mount Juliet. The event is free. You heard me. That's right, free. It's an event honoring our local police officers, firefighters, first responders, and veterans. Free to everyone. And country music legends Brian White and Colin Ray will be performing live, a full concert set. And Colin will reveal a brand new song just for this event. It's a concert you do not want to miss. You can also count on seeing some of the Super Talk 99.7 folks there, along with our sister station, folks from 95.5 Nash Icon. So bring your lawn chairs, blankets, and get ready for the party at the biggest community event Mount Juliet has ever seen. The Love Our City concert, sponsored by Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley of the Wellness Institute of Nashville.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Another kid is arrested in Nashville for making a threat against his school, and Kentucky authorities say a body's been discovered near where there has been a manhunt underway for 12 days. We'll tell you about it at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 25 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We're continuing to look at these two assassination attempts against Donald Trump, and new developments are coming out on this. This I have not heard any reported anywhere except on Fox. This is an independent investigation of the first attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, by Chuck Grassley, Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa. The thing about Chuck Grassley is he wants to get to the truth. He's a no-nonsense guy, a real adult, and he doesn't tolerate a bunch of this nonsense that happens within government when they don't want to have any oversight. Here's what he has found in his independent investigation. Secret Service agents assured Butler County, Pennsylvania law enforcement that they would secure the building, and that would-be assassin Thomas Crooks used to shoot at former President Trump and others on July 13th during an outdoor rally. This according to an investigation by Senator Chuck Grassley. Butler County law enforcement officials stated that at separate times during the walkthrough, beforehand, everybody gets together and they do a walkthrough of the entire site. When they reiterated their concern to the agents and the counter sniper about securing the AGR complex building, the agents responded, "We'll take care of it." So the locals say they were told by the Secret Service that indeed you don't need to worry about the AGR building. We've got it. See, I think there's sort of an attitude about the Secret Service. We know better than you. We're the Secret Service, after all. Sort of haughty, sort of looking down their nose at the local police. But they said, we'll take care of it. Grassley's office revealed in a Tuesday letter to the acting Secret Service Director, Ronald Rowe. It was later, of course, discovered that the shooter positioned himself atop a nearby building, the one that they said that the Secret Service would take care of. The Iowa senator questioned Rowe. He wanted to know, is the Butler County law enforcement official claim true? And if so, what did the Secret Service do to secure the area where the AGR complex building? Grassley notes that in the weeks following the first assassination attempt, Rowe told senators during a hearing, what was communicated is that the locals had a plan and that they had been there before in regard to the roof of the AGR building. This, he said, was directly disputed by the law enforcement officials in interviews with Grassley's staff. The commitment from the Secret Service agents to secure the AGR complex allegedly came during a walkthrough on July 11th in preparation for the rally. Law enforcement officials claim to have alerted the agents about their concerns to the area several times during the walkthrough. It pisses me off. It does. They go through a walkthrough with the locals, and they're saying, well, this roof, we're really worried about this. They raised it several times. And you know what? Secret Service, they said, don't worry. The little local police department, we are the Secret Service, and we got this covered. Don't worry your pretty little heads over it. We've got it covered. And they didn't have it covered. And I believe that Chuck Grassley has come on something. You know what? The best information about what happened in Butler has come from the locals, the state, and not from the Secret Service. It's deeply embarrassing to them. And from what I'm hearing, yesterday we had a soundbite from Richard Blumenthal. He's on a committee that's looking into both of the assassination attempts now, and he's furious. He's a Democrat, and he wants answers, and he's furious that he can't get answers from the Department of Homeland Security and writ large, the Secret Service. He's asking for answers, and they're not coming. They're just ignoring him. They're dragging their feet. And I'm telling you, they got a bunch of senators, both Democrat and Republican, who are about as mad as that nest of hornets that I stumbled into earlier this week. I'm telling you, we've got a real problem getting the answers here. I'm glad that Congress is doing an independent bipartisan investigation and that serious people have been appointed in both the House and Senate to dig into this. I think they will get the answers. We got whistleblowers that are coming out. You know where the whistleblowers are coming from? In my opinion, I don't know for sure. My opinion, they're coming from that Pittsburgh field office of the Secret Service, because they all got in trouble for having, by putting people in. They'd say, well, you didn't do your job. And I think they're quite offended because I think they tried to do their job. And I think they had an agent in charge who was not up to the task. And they're not gonna sit by idly and take the rap for this. So you got whistleblowers that are talking to people like Josh Hawley. You got Chuck Grassley doing an independent investigation. Ad hoc committees in both the House and Senate doing an investigation. I think we're going to get some answers, but it's going to take a concerted effort and a fight, because the documents and the interviews, they're not being made available. And the American people have the right to know what happened in both of these instances. 30 minutes now past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in Nashville, Channel 4 says an 8th grader at Stratford STEM Magnet School has been arrested for making threats against the school. Police say this 13-year-old told a teacher about a plan to, quote, shoot up the school. Now the kid's charged with making a threat of mass violence. And Dixon County schools clearing up an issue today. They say a screenshot going around today was not a threat. It was traced outside of the area, but sheriff's deputies say although it is not credible, parents need to talk to kids about sharing threats because that can be punished too. We're monitoring the news out of Kentucky right now, where state police are investigating after a body was discovered in Laurel County along I-75. This is where a 12-day manhunt has been underway for 32-year-old Joseph Couch, who allegedly randomly fired a gun at cars, injuring 5 people. Authorities have not released the identity of the body. And in money news, let's get the latest from Dave Packer.
Traders initially liked the Federal Reserve's half-point interest rate cut, but stocks turned lower before the close on concerns that the Fed might be trying to get ahead of a downturn in the economy. The Dow lost 103 points, the S&P gave up 16, and NASDAQ fell 55 points. The broad market index hit a new all-time high right after the central bank announcement. Investor excitement was also tamed when Fed Chair Jerome Powell said all future decisions would be made meeting by meeting. The Fed also wants to turn its attention to the job market. The Teamsters union says it won't be endorsing either former President Trump or Kamala Harris for president, saying neither was able to make serious commitments to its members. Business has gone stale for Tupperware Brands. The Orlando-based company has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, saying it'll seek court approval for a sale. Boeing CEO says the company will begin furloughing employees to save money amid a machinist strike.
Now, one thing Dave Packer forgot to mention there about that Teamsters story is that nearly 2/3 of members, we're talking about millions strong, favored Trump over Harris in internal polling. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
You know, fall is the time for pumpkin spice lattes and pretty leaves, and it's also a time to save some money if you have problems with your plumbing, your heating, or your cooling. You need to call and find out about the great offers from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Root Pro partner. If you're looking for HVAC specials, how about a free Wi-Fi thermostat on qualifying new HVAC systems? Now you can control your HVAC system from anywhere. A free whole home air filtration system with purchase of 2 or more qualifying HVAC systems, or a new HVAC system replacement as low as $68 a month with approved credit. Let's talk about plumbing. Busy Bee has new tankless water heaters as low as $72 a month. Whole home drain pipe replacement as low as $76 a month. Whole home water distribution replacement as low as $85 a month, or even a whole home water filtration system as low as $39 with approved credit. Remember, being a Beehive Club member is the best way to keep your systems in tip-top shape all year long. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partners, 615-775-7833, or visit busybehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. And you know what that means? It's Wednesday. And you know what happens on Wednesday when we're lucky? We get to talk to Pete Hegseth, the weekend host of Fox and Friends over on the Fox News channel. And also, when he's not doing that, a resident right here in Sumner County. And I understand Pete is at a game, a very important game today. Pete, can you give us a report on the outcome of the game? Hello, Pete.
2-0.
I'm sorry. Say again. Say again.
No, my kid's soccer team is up 2-0, under control.
So we're in the midst of the game right now.
Mm-hmm. But it's not very competitive. It's very early, and I think we're going to do fine. So I'm going to be okay. All
right. Well, if a big play breaks out while you're on the air, give us a little play-by-play action. We'd love to.
Okay. If he scores in the middle of the interview, you will be you have the exclusive on that score.
All right. Since we last talked, we've had this situation in West Palm Beach, Florida, a second assassination attempt. I'm really trying, from afar, trying to figure this out. The one wonders. The big question, it seems to me, is did this guy just have a lucky guess that Donald Trump was going to be playing golf on Sunday, or did he have some advanced knowledge that if that's the case? That's very troubling. How do you see the thing shaping up?
Again, just gross incompetence. And people can talk about staffing and all of that, but apparently it was a known secret or known. You could find out that along these few holes, if you peek through the fence, through the shrubbery, you could get a shot of Trump. And photographers had done that in 2016 and 2020. It was known. You want to get a picture of Trump on the golf course, you might get lucky if you're there. So somehow he got that information either through the grapevine or on the internet or whatever, and was able to set up shop. But if that's a known secret, how does the Secret Service not know that? How are they not staffing that? How are they not screening that beforehand? More than one hole ahead. The guy was there for 12 hours. Either they're complacent or they're understaffed, or they're leaving the door open on purpose, which I would shudder to think that's the case. I pray not. But twice now, that close. This is an agency in complete crisis, and Trump's saying he supports him because he almost has to say that, right? What else is he going to say about the agency that protects him? But the rest of us that look at the evidence see this is utter failure.
There's this fact this guy was on their radar a lot in the past. I mean, he traveled. I mean, he had to be on the radar. He traveled over to Ukraine and tried to enlist with the Ukrainian army to fight against the Russians. He's written books. He's been in trouble with the law, a handful of times, and most of them were involving gun violations, etc., weapons of mass destruction. Apparently, at one case, you would think that a guy like this would already be on their radar.
You'd think apparently he was, but what does it mean to be on their radar at this point? What is the what does that mean? If they don't, do they have enough resources to actually surveil that? Are they actually intervening? And how do they keep track of these people? Or is the whole idea of being on their radar just a one-time incident report, and then you kind of hope they don't show up later? I mean, that's where I think I hate to say it this way, but having been close to a lot of government agencies, and it too, we put a lot more faith that they're all over it, when in reality they're so swamped with threats and tidbits of information. And I'm not excusing this away, but they're not tracking them on a regular basis with an ankle monitor. So it really is, the Secret Service has to be thorough at every moment with every incident. And here's the thing. This whole idea that he's a former president, so he gets former presidential security, there's not a single threat out on Joe Biden. I mean, and there shouldn't be, right? We shouldn't be assassinating anybody. There's no threat out on him. We know there's threats out on Trump. And the fact that he doesn't have double the security that Biden has right now, given that, shows you how upside down it is.
I think you have a good point. There was a time when I was young and naive, and, I was just a young reporter working, my way up the chain and back in Texas, that I used to think, well, then Washington, they got the best and the brightest. To work in Washington, only the smartest people can work at the White House. Only the smartest people could make their way to the Secret Service. Only the very best and then, when you get to Washington and you sort of, learn how the town works, you find out it's a bunch of people who put their pants on one leg at a time, who are just as dumb as the rest of America in some ways. That you got good people and you got bad people, and they're not 10 feet tall and bulletproof. It was a real surprise to me.
Then you look at James Comey and Karine Jean-Pierre and Kamala Harris and say, these are the best of the best.
Yeah.
Like, of course. No, I mean, in many places, it's people that can't get a private sector job, and they keep failing up inside government. So there are a lot of wonderful people that get in government for the right reasons that are very capable. But Washington, D.C. is not full of the best of the best. And so stuff like this doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't me either. So anything change in your take on the presidential race? It seems the numbers get tighter and tighter. I'm struck by one thing. When you look at the polls, it looks very, very tight. Yet I've noticed people, like John King and Major Garrett and other people who've been out actually talking to people in some of these battleground states, and they seem to come back with a different opinion about what they find, that there's a lot more support for Trump. And there was a CBS reporter who went there and said she went to every diner she could find, and she could only find one person who was going to vote for Kamala Harris. Well, that doesn't match up with what we're seeing in the polls at all, does it?
No, and that feels a lot like 2016. And I'll tell you, the vibe of this election to me feels more like 2016 than 2020. Right. Trump's running an insurgent campaign. They're throwing the kitchen sink at him, literally. The polls are going to under-reflect his support as they did in 2016. So these polls track mostly with where we were in 2016. I don't buy them, and that's why there is a hidden level of support. I feel good. I mean, if I had to prognosticate today, I'd say Trump with a narrow victory. But really at this point, it's a turnout game, Brian. You know that. We talk about this. Early vote, it's ballots, it's pulling out low propensity voters, and convincing that little bit in the middle to hold their nose and vote for Trump because their life was that much better. And don't worry about all the other noise, the dogs and the cats and all that stuff, even though he's right about that. And focus on how much your life got better.
Yeah, isn't that something that is turned into a discussion of whether Haitians are eating dogs or cats or not? But really, there's so much on the plate that's so much more important than that. Not to diminish what's happening in Springfield, Ohio, but really, bigger picture, bigger fish to fry here, right?
Yes, and it became an issue because of how he said it in the debate and the shock that the rest of the media had with the idea. When you talk to people who've been to Haiti, that know Haiti, they know this type of thing goes on. The city manager said that stuff was going on before he denied it. So it's the macro argument, Brian. It's that this administration has allowed entire communities across our country to be taken over and devastated by illegals, or in this case, invited Haitians who have you invite the third world into your back door. Don't be surprised when it turns into the third world. And American citizens get pulled to the back of the line. That's the larger story, is what more do you care about, your own people or being the dumping ground for everybody else's refugees ad nauseum? Ask Europe how that's going on. So that's worth litigating. It's just the press can't get past fact-checking something that we all know is likely true. They're just waiting for videotape evidence. And even when that comes out, they're not going to care.
Yeah. I hear you, and I agree. So since you've been out on the soccer field today, out on the pitch, as they say, we've had a rate cut, half a point. It's coming before the election instead of after the election. Is this political?
It could be. I mean, I will say that there's a lot of economists that I trust, that I like, that say, in all fairness, most of the economic indicators are there that justifies a rate cut. So there's that. But then there's the way Washington works and the way all these institutions work and who institutional Washington wants to win. And, of course, a rate cut right before the election historically has benefited the incumbent, right? It's a sign of a stronger economy. So everyone is forgiven. Anyone who thinks this is political is forgiven and could be right, because it very much could be. I don't trust any of these people. Why would I think Powell is suddenly completely apolitical when we've seen everything else and how political it is? So I don't know, but it doesn't change the fact that when you wreck the economy and then you pump it full of money and you create inflation and then it gets a little bit better, you shouldn't get credit for that.
Yeah, I'm here in Tennessee. I think a lot of people are very concerned about Kamala Harris and her position on the Second Amendment, because she, on one hand, she says, "Oh, look, I'm a gun owner. Don't worry. Me and Tim are not out to get your guns." And then she goes before the National Association of Black Journalists, the NABJ, and says, I'm not out to get anybody's guns. And then she spends about 4 minutes talking about how she wants to restrict everyone's Second Amendment rights. I hope that that's not lost on people.
It shouldn't be. Brian, she's a gun grabber. Of course she's a gun grabber. That's been her MO for years, and there's lots of other tape out there of her saying, we can go into your house and we can inspect and take your guns at any point if you're not using them safely or lawfully. I mean, she's a statist. She doesn't believe in the Second Amendment. Just because you own a gun doesn't make you supporter of the Second Amendment. And even then, when's the media going to verify that? What does she own, a cap gun? We don't know what kind of gun she owns or when she got. I mean, it's just she is going to come after them. That's who she is. That's what she's represented. So yeah, and the press hasn't pushed her on that at all. That's going to be on the Trump campaign to make sure people understand what she really stands for.
If you had one crack to ask her a question, what do you think it would be?
Oh man, I guess I would pin her down on one position, on fracking or on Medicare for all. I mean, those sound boring, but any one of her flips and just have an opportunity to follow 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Okay. But what do you stand for right now, and why did it change? I obviously could have snarkier questions than that, but I haven't really seen her even really go down the line and get true answers about where she stands.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time out from the important game there. The score's still 2-0. I heard a little shouting in the background.
Now we scored a couple goals, and he had an assist. So I didn't need to announce the assist, but there was an assist in there.
Pete, man, you're good to be with us on this day when you're out there also with family. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Appreciate it. You got it.
50 minutes now past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Another kid arrested in Nashville for making school threats. Kentucky police very busy again, where there was a 12-day manhunt. The Teamsters announcing something today they haven't done in the run-up to an election since the mid-'90s. Had a Fed rate cut and Hezbollah under attack again. Coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, listen, in the next hour, at the 5 o'clock hour, I'm going to get back into the election and some numbers. But, I mean, if you are concerned like I am about Kamala Harris and her position on the Second Amendment, I mean, she says she's not out to grab your guns. But wait till you hear what I found. A soundbite from Kamala from 2007 that you're simply just not going to believe. It's all ahead right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, hey, folks, did you know that gold is up 78% over the last 5 years and silver is up 99% during that same time period? Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. You know what this is? Government-induced inflation, stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. Gold and other precious metals can be a great shield against that inflation theft. During an election year, you hear a lot of promises from the politicians, but you know how they are. That's why no matter who's in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending sprees. Where do you go to get that protection? Well, reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold and Coin. They will take great care of you and keep you well informed, teach you a lot about precious metals. Please act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com and set up your appointment today.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, Channel 4 says an 8th grader is facing making threats of mass violence against his school charges. It's a 13-year-old who police say told a teacher at Stratford STEM Magnet School today he plans to, quote, shoot it up. And in Dixon County, the sheriff's department says there was a screenshot circulating that purported to be a threat, but it was traced from out of the area. And parents are being urged to tell your kids simply sharing a perceived threat can be punished too. We're monitoring a report out of Kentucky right now where a body has been found along I-75 in Laurel County. This is near where there has been a 12-day manhunt for 32-year-old Joseph Couch. That's the suspect who allegedly shot 5 people earlier this month right there along the interstate. Authorities have not released this deceased person's identity. Election 2024, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, one of the most prominent and influential unions in the country, just announced it will not endorse any presidential candidate this year. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
Declined to endorse in 1996, expressing disappointment with Bill Clinton for pushing NAFTA. But after endorsing every Democratic candidate since, the union says it won't back Kamala Harris, nor will it endorse Donald Trump. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien says neither candidate pledged they'd stay out of strikes that might involve railroads or airlines. And while Trump led internal rank-and-file polls, the Teamsters say he wouldn't vow to veto a national right-to-work bill that might undermine union security clauses.
Yeah, by the way, Trump led those internal polls by nearly 2-1 over Vice President Kamala Harris. We haven't heard from the White House on the Teamsters, but Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre did respond to a question about the half-point interest rate cut from the Fed today.
It's a moment of progress. I think that's how we see this. And also a recognition of how far we have come.
The reduction expected to trickle down to mortgages, credit card rates, and car loans. Lebanese officials reporting another wave of explosions in Beirut and smaller cities, this time walkie-talkies and handheld radios exploding in the hands of Hezbollah members. Martha Raddatz reports from Tel Aviv.
Given the response that Hezbollah says they will take revenge, it's going to be harder for them. They have lost fighters, they have lost operatives, and they have lost communication. If you or anybody who was a member of that group, you would think they would put down all wireless devices. In fact, their leadership, those who have survived any sort of attack, are saying take the batteries out of anything you have.
By the way, Lebanon's health ministry reporting at least 9 people killed and 300 injured in today's attacks. Again, those being walkie-talkies and handheld radios exploding in Hezbollah members' hands. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hour number 3 of the drive now getting underway on this Wednesday, September 18th. I'm Brian Wilson. Glad that you're with us. Hope you're getting home safely. Listen, take it easy out there on the highway and byway. And while you're waiting in traffic or you're making your way home, let's just, I'll bring you some news and information so you'll be up to speed on things that are happening. That's the goal of the drive every day, to drive you home safely and to drive the liberals just a little bit crazy. I want to start off with our 2024 report because there are some things floating around. I mean, this thing is going to get ugly all the way down to the wire. It's getting really, really ugly. And you got to wonder when it comes to Kamala Harris whether she means anything that she says. I mean, she's talking all the time about how her values haven't changed, but her positions have. And I have the trouble sort of reconciling that statement because it seems to me your positions that you take are sort of based on the values that you carry. So if your values haven't changed, why should we believe that your positions have changed? Especially, it seems to me, when it comes to the Second Amendment, and that's my biggest concern right now with this woman. She says, oh, look, I've got a gun. Tim, my running mate, he's got a gun. We're not out to take anybody's guns away. But then yesterday, before the National Association of Broadcast Black Journalists, the NABJ, you had a situation where she said that and then spent about 2.5 to 3 minutes talking about the things she was going to do to restrict your Second Amendment rights. So where is she really on the Second Amendment? You don't really believe that she's changed her position on this, do you? Well, I stumbled into a soundbite that just blows my mind. She is as the San Francisco District Attorney. This soundbite comes from May of 2007. And they have just passed a law that requires people to safely store their guns in their homes. And she's having a press conference about that. It looks like to me that Gavin Newsom is standing in the background. And she says the following about how she's going to enforce the law. You ready for this? Listen closely.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Did you hear that? She said that, that they might just, to enforce this law, they might try to walk directly into your home to inspect exactly how you are storing your guns. Are you in compliance with the law? Well, we'll just enter your home to find out. So many constitutional issues here. But that's what she said. And those are her values. That's what she really believes. She really wants to have an assault weapons ban, which basically means she wants to come to my house and take away the AR-15 that I have in my gun cabinet. She wants my AR-15. She considers that an assault weapon. And if she has her way, she'll do exactly what Joe Biden did back in the 80s. There'll be an assault weapons ban. So she's not really backing away from the position. And people who care deeply about the Second Amendment and all of the reasons that we have the Second Amendment, it's not just for hunting. That's what the Democrats like. Well, we're not going to take away the guns that you want to hunt with. We're not out to take away your shotgun. We're not, it doesn't matter because that's not what the Second Amendment is all about, right? The Second Amendment is to make sure that all the other amendments are followed. But again, I want to play this for you one more time. Kamala Harris, 2007, telling the people in California, be prepared because I might just show up on your doorstep and demand to see where your guns are.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Wow. And she'll be the arbiter of whether or not you were doing things responsibly, right? So, I mean, boy, we ought to be playing this soundbite on autopilot every hour of the day. It tells you exactly what she is. Do not be fooled by all of this. Oh, well, now I'm in favor of the Second Amendment, and oh yeah, I'm not out to get your guns, and oh, I know I said I didn't like fracking, but I'm for it now, and about Medicare for all, I used to think that was the way to go, nationalize medical care, but now I'm against it. None of that has changed. And she's letting you know that because the wink, wink, nod, nod to all of her liberal friends are, well, don't worry, my values haven't changed. That's sort of her winking and nodding and saying, yeah, I'm having to say this, wink, wink, nod, nod. But don't worry, my values haven't changed. J.D. Vance is really going after her in a very effective way about her messaging, which is so weird. She doesn't answer any questions directly.
They'll say, well, Kamala, Vice President Harris, what is your plan to lower the inflation caused by your policies? And she'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. I believe in small business. And then everybody with an ounce of common sense is saying, well, you didn't answer the question. Or Kamala Harris, your policies led to an increase in energy prices, an increase in housing prices. What are you going to do to change that? Give us the specific idea of what you're going to do. And she'll say, well, when I worked at McDonald's, I loved making hash browns. And all the American people want, I think, from a person who would pretend to lead them is to actually answer some tough questions and stand before the American people and ask for their vote. And that's what she refuses to do.
She really doesn't answer any question directly. It's all a bunch of platitudes. Here is a montage that's been put together of some of the things that she's promising. It sounds like, one of the things she's doing is she's going out there and she's telling the people on the campaign trail, I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to give you that. And it's all, don't you worry, man. The gravy train is coming if you vote for me. She never talks about how she's going to pay for it all.
We fight for a future where we can build what I call an opportunity economy. Let's just do the work of giving first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance. We will also cut taxes for working families, including restoring and expanding the child tax credit. It has been about expanding health care for more Americans, including dreamers. It has been about forgiving billions of dollars in student loan debt.
Oh, man, we're just going to dole out the cashola, man. Don't you worry. We're going to take good care of you. None of that stuff, by the way, is likely to pass in a divided Congress. And from everything I can tell, we may again have a divided Congress. The Republicans are looking pretty good in the Senate. I'm not so sure they're going to be able to hold on to the House, but they are pretty likely going to take control of the Senate. That's the way it's looking to me. And in a divided government, you can propose anything, but you ain't likely to get it. So there you go. A whole lot of spending. This was noted by Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Comrade Kamala Harris, as President Trump is known to call her now, wants to take it to a whole different level. I mean, if you follow her around on her little campaign speeches, all she's talking about is more centralized price controls and new government spending programs, and everybody gets a car. It's like Oprah's running for president.
Everybody gets a car. It's like,
it's a brand new car.
You get a car. You get a car. Everybody gets a car.
Yeah, I know. It is like Oprah. Well, anyway, let me just play this little bit. Kamala continues with the hate speech. I have a story here I think is pretty interesting. Talks about all the times that she has incited violence by calling Trump a threat to democracy. This little soundbite is one example of many that are out there. We've got all this, the assassination attempts against Trump, and who's riling these people up? Well, in many cases, it seems to be the Democrat nominee.
The commander-in-chief has as her highest responsibility the responsibility for concerning herself with our nation's security and the security of our homeland. But what we've had in Donald Trump, to your point, is someone who, on the subject of the fact of Russia's interference in the election of the President of the United States, has preferred to take the word of the Russian president over the word of the American intelligence community. compromising yet again the very democracy that people fought for, much less our national security. Donald Trump is our greatest national security threat at this moment.
So they love to throw that threat word around. On the issue of abortion, Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy and fundamental freedoms, says Kamala Harris. How many times have you heard this one? This one has been knocked down so many times. Donald Trump has vowed he'll be a dictator on day one. He's a threat to our democracy and our fundamental freedoms. You know what? That is such horse you-know-what. I nearly said the word. It's the whole thing that he said, this is the thing, you got to be careful about what you say, but it's very clear when you heard Donald Trump talk about being a dictator on day one. It was done with tongue firmly planted in cheek. It was absolutely done in sort of a joking manner. And it's very clear if you hear the soundbite. Then they take that completely out of context. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy and fundamental freedoms. With your vote, we will stop him in November, talking about the Trump Supreme Court. He says, I just played the one where he said he's the greatest threat to national security because he loves the Russians. It goes on. It goes on and on and on. Atlas Intel. You may not know about them. They're a polling organization that got it right. They were dead on, well, pretty close to dead on in 2020. The most accurate pollster. And they're doing their analysis this time around. And they're saying, and Andre Roman is the CEO of Atlas Intel, and they're talking about, what they think is going to happen. And he said, Roman, whose analysis is deeply rooted in numerical data, presented a more conservative outlook. He said, and I quote, "Well, I'm very much oriented by the numbers we have, and I believe in those numbers, and I think about how this plays out, swing state by swing state, and that's something that we'll be releasing next week." Here's the sentence to listen to. Pay close attention. "I would give Trump 70% chance of winning and Kamala a 30% chance." He emphasized, according to the PJ Media, that Trump currently holds a built-in advantage that could be difficult for Harris to overcome, but adds, not impossible. We heard Pete Hegseth a few moments ago, and I said the same thing yesterday, and Tom Bevan over Real Clear Politics, who I have a great deal of respect for, keeps saying the same thing. This has the feeling of a 2016 election, a lot more than 2020. The polls are tight, yeah, and in fact, in some places, Kamala is leading. But that's the popular vote, not the Electoral College. And Trump does have sort of a leg up, electorally speaking. He needs to earn one of the big battleground states. And notably, it seems to me the big fight, really honestly, is going to come down to Pennsylvania. But it's beginning to feel to me like that Kamala may win the popular vote. But Trump has the edge, and it's a slight edge, but an edge when it comes to the Electoral College. It's 20 minutes now past the hour. A question from our friends over at Beacon Capital Management. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You can be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Are you? Well, listen, defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Well, the Fed announced something it hasn't done since COVID, and the Congressional Gold Medal presented today in honor of the hidden figures. Details at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Do you remember that song from 1979, You're Only Lonely? This was a guy by the name of J.D. Souther, and it was his biggest hit. Yeah, I didn't go very far up the charts. I did okay. But when you talk about J.D. Souther, you really have to talk about somebody who was instrumental in some of the music that, it certainly is of my era.
Yep.
And I mean, he was so instrumental in doing a lot of work with people like the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt and so many others. He wrote some songs. My favorite that he wrote that the Eagles did, and it's a rocker. I mean, it's a stomper. You cannot keep still when this song plays. Remember the song Heartache Tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Beat around the bushes, we can get down to the bone. We can leave it in the parking lot. Yeah. That is a great line.
Sounds like some bad decisions were made that night.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite Eagles songs, and he wrote that song.
Yep.
He also wrote, a couple of, really big hits that you know from the Eagles. He co-wrote Best of My Love, for example. That was a big hit.
Great one.
He wrote the song James Dean, which came out by the Eagles later in their career. But also, how about this one? There's a New Kid in Town. You've heard that song a few times. He was well known with his collaborations of other great artists of the era. Somebody that, whose politics I don't agree with in 1 degree. Believe me, I don't. But, if you grew up in my era, there was an old saying about Linda Ronstadt. There were 2 kinds of men in the world. The people who were in love with Linda Ronstadt and the men who had never met her or heard of her. And so, she was so popular and so big, and he wrote some songs with her. My favorite is from the Heart Like a Wheel album, Faithless Love. So instrumental in the country sound. Well, sad news, J.D. Souther, prolific songwriter and musician who helped shape the country rock sound that took root in Southern California and across the nation in the 1970s, with the collaborations with the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt and others, has died at the age of 78. Inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2013, Souther was described as a principal architect of the Southern California sound and a major influence on a generation of songwriters. He was also very active in the social scene at the time. His girlfriends included Ronstadt. I knew that. It seemed like I remember at some point, for some reason, I think J.D. Souther may have had some relatives that lived in my hometown of Odessa, because there were reports of Ronstadt and Souther showing up in Odessa. Joni Mitchell, he dated Joni Mitchell. He dated Stevie Nicks, who in a 1982 interview remembered him as, quote, very, very, very male chauvinistic and very sweet and cute and wonderful, but very Texas.
Oh, she was all over the place there, wasn't
she? She had fond memories, it would seem. He was born in Detroit, grew up in Amarillo, Texas, moved to Los Angeles in the late 60s, and there's where he met fellow Michigan native Glenn Frey, founding members and guitarist of the Eagles. The two began a long-time partnership with a band called Long Branch Penny Whistle. Frey would credit Souther for introducing him to country music, which became, of course, a major part of the Eagles sound. Mm-hmm. The country rock, if you love country rock, the roots are in the Eagles, and the country rock that the Eagles produced, some of the best stuff they put out there, had its roots in J.D. Souther. Rest in peace at the age of 78 degrees. He died apparently peacefully at his home in New Mexico.
5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Well, it's another night behind bars for music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. A second judge today rejected Combs' appeal for bail on those racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Combs' attorney said he would be held in the special housing unit of Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn. Combs did not appear to react, but had his eyes cast downward while seated at the defense table. And after 4 years of raising interest rates to tame inflation, the Federal Reserve Board today issued a 0.5% cut. Here's Michelle Franson.
For the first time in 4 years, the cost of borrowing money is on the decline for Americans and businesses, from home and auto loans to credit cards. The Federal Reserve Board issued a 0.5% rate cut. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says the U.S. economy is strong enough to support the aggressive cut.
The labor market has cooled from its formerly overheated state.
Powell says future cuts will be based on balancing inflation with the job and housing markets.
Another deadly wave of device explosions in Lebanon today. Lebanon's health ministry says people were killed by their walkie-talkies, Hezbollah members. That was at a funeral in Beirut today for 4 people who were killed during yesterday's explosions, which were pagers. And election 2024, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, one of the most prominent and influential unions in the country, announcing it will not endorse any presidential candidate this year. Before the announcement, Trump led internal rank and file polls by nearly 2/3 over Vice President Harris. And they are hidden figures no more. House Speaker Mike Johnson was on hand as the Congressional Gold Medal was presented to the families of 4 black women who were instrumental in America's space race and the Apollo 11 mission to the moon.
These women didn't just crunch numbers and solve equations for the space program. They actually laid the very foundation upon which our rockets launched and our astronauts flew and our nation soared.
Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, and Christine Darden were known as the hidden figures, working in the segregated unit of female mathematicians at what is now NASA's Langley Research Center in Virginia. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
You know, the folks at Eurofix have a very different business philosophy. They staff all their locations with more than the average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency comes out of nowhere. Have you ever noticed how hard it could be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers, it can take more than 2 weeks just to get an appointment, but not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, why don't you call Eurofix? Owner Aaron Stokes says, we will never be too busy for our customers. We are here to take their pain away now. Eurofix repairs all European cars. Eurofix says yes to speedy repairs when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. Call them this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
There it is. The highlight of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Three Amigos. The Three Amigos are Ken Weaver in the newsroom.
Good afternoon, boys.
There's Chris Weber in the control room.
Hello.
And I am your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson. Together we make up the Three Amigos, where we chew the fat. We talk about this, that, and the other. Sometimes, you never know where it's going to go. It could be a stream of consciousness that leads us far astray from the original topic. It does often.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it really is. So it's just us messing around. But, we really do like each other.
Yeah, we hang out.
I mean, we do. When we can, we hang out. We like each other. We enjoy each other's company. And I was so happy when Ken Weaver came over so we could renew the Three Amigos.
The original.
The original. That's right. Oh, the old, what is it? OG.
The OGs.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Who wants to start? Usually we bring a little item. Who wants to start today?
I've got something.
Okay, go.
And Brother Brian, this is gonna involve our little furry pets.
Okay.
Mine and yours, Brother Chris. It might you too. But anyway, there is this veterinarian in the UK. He is warning against owning 5 particular dog breeds.
Okay.
Now, the 2 breeds that involve you and I, Brother Brian, are the flat-faced dogs, little Frenchies, pugs, and bulldogs, and then weenie dogs, which is my little fat wiener dog, Fritz. All right, so here's what this guy says. Here's why he says we should not own these breeds.
Well, it's too late, but go ahead.
Yeah. But he says Frenchies, pugs, and bulldogs are on the no-no list because of their shortened, compressed airways, which he says leads to breathing difficulties, overheating, and acid reflux. I didn't know that. Says these problems can take a toll on the owner's wallet, as they often require a big invasive surgery just to fix. And he says they also suffer from skin and ear infections, allergies, and are prone to issues with their spines.
We definitely have the allergies. We have to fight that.
Yeah, and I've got, for the weenie dogs, the dachshund, he concluded that the long back and short legs make them prone to severe back problems. And it is something that we've got to watch with Fritz. Yeah. We do not let him go up and down the stairs by himself.
Really? Yeah.
Especially down the stairs.
Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know this about them, but they apparently can suffer from joint problems and an eye condition known as progressive retinal atrophy.
So the idea is that they've been breeded to get these certain characteristics, and that they have come up with health problems as a result of the intense breeding.
That's what this guy is saying. Yeah. Now he had this to say about the German Shepherd. The German Shepherd isn't really anything physical. It's kind of mental with the German Shepherd. He says this breed needs mental stimulation and lots of exercise to thrive, which means you can't just get a German Shepherd and just stick him in the backyard.
No, you got to work them.
You've got to work.
They're working dogs, just like border collies.
Right.
Yep.
And I had we had some friends years ago that he decided to go out and get a couple of German Shepherd puppies for his kids. Well, of course, they basically just stuck them in the backyard and neglected them. These 2 dogs eventually grew to 120 pounds apiece.
Ooh, wow.
And they got out and they started killing neighborhood dogs.
Yeah.
And
not good.
So, yeah, with the German Shepherd, it's nothing against the breed. I mean, they can't help it. But,
just doing what a dog's going to do.
Doing what a dog's going to do, and it's up to the owner to be responsible.
Yes. I mean, really, that's the bottom line. I have had, by the way, I had a miniature wiener dog named Pumpkin.
I remember you talking about little Pumpkin.
Had Snitz and Pumpkin there for a while, and Pumpkin, she would, the thing that she loved to do is she learned to beg by getting up on her hind legs.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing you're not supposed to do.
Right.
But that was the most, that dog, I mean, got into more stuff. She was tough as nails, that dog. I remember one time for Christmas, somebody sent us one of those 5-pound Hershey bars.
Oh, yeah.
They're the huge Hershey bar for Christmas. And we just laid it on the dining room table. And we went out. We were out talking to some people to come to visit. We were walking them out to their car. Got involved in a sort of a lengthy conversation. Came back in, and Pumpkin was on the dining room table eating that chocolate bar.
Chowing down.
I mean, she ate a big old hunk of it.
Was she okay?
Well, that your dog's not supposed to eat chocolate.
Right.
But, I mean, she didn't seem to be bothered by it at all. One time, she decided to jump off about a 7-foot deck.
Oh yeah.
And landed and must have broken a couple of ribs. She's kind of and just kept on going.
Yeah, they're fearless.
Wow. They're fearless and they're tough. They really are. Yeah.
All right, you said there were 5, didn't you?
Oh yeah. The Shar-Pei was another one. The Shar-Pei, because of its wrinkly skin, it can get infections because bacteria grows between the folds.
That makes sense.
And it often needs a facelift, according to this vet, to prevent their eyelids from rolling forward.
Wow.
And then, let's see, what was the other one? Oh, the Great Dane.
Oh, yeah.
Another large dog he cautioned against was the Great Dane because the gentle giants, as he put it, which they are, they're very sweet dogs, the ones I've known anyway, they're prone to a heart condition, and many of them only live 7 to 8 years.
Yeah.
Wow, I've heard that. The bigger dogs don't live as long as the smaller dogs.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's too late. But,
it's too late for me too, man.
But I got to tell you, in defense of the Frenchies, they are the most entertaining dog. I've had a lot of dogs, and I like dogs that have a little personality.
Right.
I raised a couple of Jack Russell Terriers, and they were great dogs.
Yeah.
But this dog. Not a day goes by that dog doesn't do something that makes me laugh out loud.
Yep.
I mean, these really have a lot of personality. They really do.
That's kind of for me, boys.
All right. Yeah. You want me to go?
Well, you can go.
All right.
Sure.
All right. We know about artificial intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got, artificial intelligence is the big thing of the future. And maybe you've even used like ChatGPT to write an email or some kind of report. But what you may not know is that it uses a tremendous amount of electricity and water. And so the folks at the Washington Post got together with some University of California people to try to figure out exactly, how much water one 100-word email would cost. You would have to cough up this much water for the system to put out a 100-word email using ChatGPT. You'd be surprised. It's 17.5 ounces of water.
For 100 words.
For 100 words. Because they say these things use computers. They get very hot.
Yeah.
They use water to cool them. The water evaporates. And they say for every 100-word email, it comes out to about 17.5 ounces of water. If you write one email a week over the course of a year, you would use 7.1 gallons. If you multiply that by 10% of the workforce who is using something like ChatGPT to write one email a week, it comes. I had to change this from from the milliliters to ounces and gallons because the milliliters and liters don't mean much. No. 115 million gallons.
Whoa.
Of water is used every year to write one. If you write one email a week. And you're 10%, part of that 10% of the workforce comes to 115 million gallons. By comparison, the state of Tennessee consumes about 509 million gallons of water a day. So it's about a fifth of what Tennessee consumes in a day.
Wow. Interesting.
It's a lot of water. And then on top of that, all the electricity.
They say that in some areas where these big, computer
like data
servers,
farms or whatever,
the data farms or wherever they are, they say that they are sometimes the biggest user of electricity and the biggest user of water in that community. Because they really suck it up, and it's a lot more expensive if you're in certain areas where water is scarce, or certain areas where electricity is really expensive. It costs you a lot more.
Wow, I would have never thought of that.
That's the last thing I would have thought of.
Yeah, and AI is it's the thing, but I don't know that we have a grid that can support it.
Yeah, they say that the crypto machines are the same way. Mm-hmm. The crypto mining computers use a lot of electricity, are very electricity dependent. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard.
Well, we better build more windmills.
Yeah. Get some more solar farms going. Right. Yeah. All right, Chris.
All right. So I'll wrap things up with this one. This happened last week out of Harrison Township, Michigan. The local sheriff's department was called to a home around 9 in the morning for a suspicious situation. Once they got on the scene, they found a propane tank was seated in the passenger seat of a vehicle with electrical wiring running from the tank to the inside of the center console of the vehicle, and then another tank found strapped to the front driver's side wheel of the car with copper wiring running underneath the vehicle. And there were also multiple signs posted on the vehicle that indicated the car would blow up if it was touched. So police obviously closed down the area, called in the state bomb squad to address the situation. The bomb squad arrives. They get there. They determine the entire thing was just a hoax. The tanks were not actually connected to anything that would cause an explosion. So then police find the owner of said vehicle that the tanks were strapped to, the 45-year-old suspect. He was arrested and charged with a device representing or presented as explosive by the county prosecutor's office. And apparently the reason that he did such a thing, he did it to keep his car from being repossessed. So that's one way to go about it. I just...
Yeah, if you don't have a pit bull named Elvis, those propane tanks will do it.
I would assume that no tow truck driver would bother touching that one. But, there are a lot easier ways to go about this. Just pay your car note, man.
Yeah, that's right. It seems like that'd be the easier way to go. Now, I mean, if you pull up with a tow truck, he's not going to touch that.
No.
Not
going to happen.
However, the guy didn't think it all the way through because the police ended up coming to investigate, and then they got into trouble.
Yeah.
What a mess.
You can tell he's not very bright. He doesn't pay his car payment, and he's not smart enough to think that people wouldn't find that suspicious with propane tanks and wires coming off a vehicle. But
I wonder what that's something to think about. Booby trapping things so that people stay. I mean, I just don't like anybody else driving my car, my truck. So maybe I need to do something like that to keep people
probably should not do something like that.
Because Cabana wife, every time she drives my truck, it comes back with like a broken windshield or something. So
better watch it.
I know I'm going to get in trouble.
If you want dinner tonight.
Yeah, no. See, we had a complete conversation about the Hornets and the Wasp and the Yellow Jackets, and everything's fine. I'm back in her good graces once again.
For now.
For the moment.
Yep. Until tomorrow's. Until the next Three Amigos.
That's right. 50 minutes now past the hour. Grace Point Healthcare is affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine. It's what you want, really, all those three things. They are known for their basic smart care plans. They start at $69 a month and include free office visits and free basic labs and diagnostic tests for a full year. At Grace Point, you're usually seen the same day or the next day. No long wait times in the waiting room. Grace Point is your primary provider that treats the entire family from newborns all the way up to seniors. Now, listen, if you're feeling run down, do you have intestinal issues, rashes, hives, or sinus problems? You may have a food allergy, and they can help you. Get tested and learn what foods to avoid in your diet. Grace Point is a military veteran-owned practice located in the heart of Franklin. Just call this number, 599-6868, to schedule your next medical appointment. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We have the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Today in the Middle East, another round of explosions in Lebanon, seemingly targeting the terrorist group Hezbollah. This was at a funeral today in Beirut. That was a walkie-talkie. Yeah, walkie-talkies belonging to Hezbollah members started exploding today across Lebanon. Lebanon's health ministry reporting at least 9 people killed, about 300 injured. Everyone suspects Israel, but no comment from Israel. And now the UN is weighing in on what's happening there.
Beyond the targeting of things like pagers, the UN Secretary General worries it could signal a prelude to something even larger.
Logic of making all these devices explode is to do it as a preemptive strike before a major military operation.
And in his view, Antonio Guterres says
everything must be done to avoid that escalation.
That is Tom Rivers reporting. Back here in this country, the Federal Reserve has moved to cut interest rates. Derek Dennis tells us.
The half-point cut is larger than a quarter-point cut many analysts had expected, and it signals an aggressive move by the Fed in its ongoing effort to tamp down on inflation. Many say it's a real milestone for the U.S. economy, a victory in a sense because it could start a trend by the Fed to gradually lower interest rates over the next year. Car and mortgage loans, credit card interest, all expected to get cheaper with this Federal Reserve rate cut.
Election 2024, the Teamsters Union, representing more than 1 million members, is withholding its support from either major party candidate this fall. Stephen Portnoy reports.
The Teamsters endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. But this year, union leaders say neither Kamala Harris nor Donald Trump made the commitments necessary to earn the Teamsters' formal endorsement. 2 rounds of internal polling showed most rank-and-file members favored Trump over Harris. But Teamsters President Sean O'Brien, who spoke at the Republican convention, said neither candidate is pledging not to intervene in possible strikes against railroads and airlines.
Yeah, Trump led that internal polling by nearly 2/3. Security is expected to be very tight for former President Trump's rally tonight in Long Island. It'll be his first since Sunday when a gunman was arrested in what the FBI calls an apparent second attempt on his life. And in our nation's capital, members of Congress think the Secret Service needs to do more.
Republicans say agency action is needed now to better protect Donald Trump. And House Speaker Mike Johnson says more money for the Secret Service won't provide an immediate solution.
Even if we gave them $3 billion tomorrow, it's impossible to hire 2,500 new Secret Service agents in a short period of time.
Johnson says he's asked the White House to order the agency to ramp up Trump's protection so it's equal to President Biden's. The Homeland Security Secretary says when it comes to Trump's campaign events, the protection is, quote, quite approximate.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good evening, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Hour number 4 of the drive for this 18th day of September. We got a lot of ground to cover here today. A little programming note. I'm going to be gone, taking a couple of days off, Thursday and Friday. Chris Hand will be here tomorrow, filling in ably. And then on Friday, it'll be Matt Murphy. So I'll be back on Monday. And appreciate those guys. Them guys. I really appreciate them guys. I'm a broadcast professional, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate them stepping in for me in my absence. Thanks a lot. I want to start this hour by talking about the assassination attempts, both of them, of Donald Trump. We have a lot of new developments in the second case. We're learning a lot more about Ryan Wesley Routh, the failed Trump assassination suspect from West Palm Beach. He's actually from Greensboro, North Carolina, spent some time in Hawaii. Not sure where he's been of late, but we know where he was on Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon as he tried to put himself in a position where he could take a shot at Donald Trump on the golf course. And he's got a lengthy rap sheet stretching back decades. Charges ranging from writing bad checks to more serious offenses involving weapons. Ralph's criminal record in Guilford County, North Carolina, spans from the 80s to the 2010s. His most significant charge was possession of a weapon of mass destruction, including a binary explosive with a 10-inch detonation cord and blasting cap. Other offenses include possessing a stolen vehicle and illegal firearms. Ralph's neighbor, Kim Mungo, lived near him for nearly 2 decades and described Ralph and his family as weird. I have a little bit of that interview. You're not going to believe what she said about this guy and what he had inside his house. Listen carefully.
See anything political or anything like that?
No, only thing I seen, they had a horse in the house. I mean, a whole live horse in the house. But like I said, the guns and stuff and all, I mean, but yeah, they were, kind of weird, but... they didn't bother me. I didn't bother them, like I said.
How do you mean a horse in the house?
A horse, a whole live horse.
In the house in the outbuilding?
In the house where the living room is at. Put hay all in there, and the big old live horse. And the horse, yeah.
And he had a horse in his living room.
A whole live horse.
With hay and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. Ralph's strange habits, according to LifeZ.com, raised eyebrows, but he largely kept to himself. I told my friends because they didn't believe me, she said. She went as far as to confirm a photo of Ralph to law enforcement after the recent assassination attempts. Despite his odd nature, Mungo insisted he was a sweet guy and that his daughter and her daughter were once very close friends. The family's political stance seemed non-existent as Mungo and other neighbors indicated that Ralph never expressed any strong political opinions. Although on his truck in Hawaii, he had a Biden-Harris sticker on the back of it. Civil court records reveal Roth's daughter lived with him full-time following his 2003 divorce. His ex-wife now resides with her current husband, was described by another neighbor as living a seemingly normal life. Police activity at their home was spotted on Sunday evening following the arrest. No doubt they go there and see what they can learn about the individual. In 2009, Ralph's ex-wife raised concerns about his financial instability and agreed to terminate child support. Federal authorities have charged Ralph with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, as well as possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. More charges will be following, no doubt. But I think the thing that stands out for me is the man had a house with a horse in it. It was a horse house. This story from redstate.com. Ryan Routh, the man accused of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump on September 15, landed in Honolulu in June of 2023 on his way home from Ukraine and went through customs. The spontaneous comments he made caused U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents to interview him on the spot and flag him for further investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. However, DHS officials declined to pursue the case, according to records reviewed by the outlet. HSI was contacted and refused the case. The records further reflected the CBP officials were made of Ruth's travel to Warsaw, Poland, and Istanbul, Turkey in 22 and 23. In addition, they revealed that Ruth admitted in his interviews that he'd been recruiting as many as 100 foreign fighters from Taiwan, Afghanistan, and Moldova to join Ukraine's war against the Russian invasion. He even gave U.S. agents who interviewed him a business card that portrayed him as the director of a group called the International Volunteer Center that also claimed to have contacts in Syria, Pakistan, and Israel. He's also described to have underwritten efforts to recruit foreigners to assist Kyiv. Subject is a U.S. citizen who traveled to Kyiv, Ukraine for 3 months to help recruit soldiers from Afghanistan, Moldova, and Taiwan to fight in the Ukraine war against Russia. We also learned that Ralph's travels were funded, or somehow that they were funded. His subject stated he does not get paid for his recruiting efforts, and all his work for the Ukrainian government is strictly volunteer work. The subject provided his recruiting business cards, which list his recruiting partners that he speaks with to recruit soldiers from Afghanistan, Romania, Pakistan, Syria, and Israel. Subject stated that he obtains money from his wife to help fund his trips to Ukraine. I need to follow up on the money there. Where did the money come from? It certainly is a flag for me as I look at this information. So we're getting a lot more information about this individual. A cop who dealt with him in North Carolina.
Mr. Ruth's attitude was, that he was above everybody. He can do what he wanted. He liked to run his mouth and play the victim.
So he liked to run his mouth and play the victim. Here's a nurse that met him in Ukraine.
He wanted to kill most world leaders. I don't remember. It's been over 2 years since I was with him, but I definitely remember he always talked about wanting to kill Putin, Kim Jong-un. He developed plans.
Well, there you go. I mean, he had some big ideas, but didn't seem to be the kind of person who could pull it off. Now, how is this going? There's going to be a big briefing this afternoon at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock our time on Capitol Hill. The Secret Service is going to bring people up to date. And so we may find out more in the next few hours or the next day or so as information starts to download from that. Here's Representative Mike Kelly before that meeting.
I think that all of us right now, we're sitting back, and so in the last 60 days, there's been 2 attempts on former President Trump's life. And while the rhetoric is awfully heated, I think at one point or another, we have to ask ourselves as Americans, what in the world is going on right now? So we see this latest shooter, and we try to follow his background and say, so people knew about this. This guy's obviously, he's got some kind of a balance problem. But we seem to have more and more of these people that are cropping up right now, and they're maybe they think they're the savior of the world. They're the angel that needed to arrive. And you look at this, a lot of it, I think it has to be some type of a mental illness. But we're going to continue to do a really deep dive. As you know, we started back in August with the task force. Thousands and thousands of pages of details we've looked over. 23 transcribed interviews. I was probably present for at least 6 of them, and a lot of that was with the local law forces that were back in Butler, Pennsylvania, that were on that site that day and trying to come to some kind of an understanding. There seems to be a lot of the lack of preparation in the Butler event. What happened on Sunday, we're going to find out as soon as we can.
All right, so that briefing was to have taken place at 4 o'clock East Coast time, 3 o'clock our time. And then there's this. This is something that'll hack you off. Remember, we've heard from the Secret Service that they thought that this building was being covered by the locals. The local police organizations are not having any part of that. We know this because Senator Chuck Grassley, who is a determined guy who's constantly out there digging on stuff, trying to get the truth out of the government, and sometimes he's successful, sometimes he's not. But he's a serious individual, and he doesn't throw things out there without making sure he's done his due diligence. I can assure you that. The Secret Service agents assured Butler County, Pennsylvania law enforcement that they would secure the building that would-be assassin Thomas Crooks used to shoot at former President Trump and others on July 13th. Butler County law enforcement officials stated that at separate times during the walkthrough, what is a walkthrough? It's where everybody gets together, they walk through the site, they talk about the things they're concerned about, everybody has an exchange of ideas. It's sort of initial look at the situation and how they might secure it. So they're doing the walkthrough when they reiterated their concerns to the agents and counter sniper about securing the AGR complex building. The agents responded, "We'll take care of it." Grassley's office revealed in a Tuesday letter to Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe. Okay. Now, that sounds very much like to me, you little police officers here in Butler don't need to worry your pretty little heads about that. We, the Secret Service, are here, and we will take care of it. Yes, I hear. Yes. Just don't worry. We got this. Well, we are, after all, the Secret Service. I just think sometimes there was sort of a hot. They weren't obvious about it, but they don't really believe that the local police department in Butler, Pennsylvania, is up to the standards of the mighty Secret Service. They consider themselves, the pinnacle of a security agency. But they weren't, were they? So let me go a little deeper into this. The Iowa senator questioned Rowe, asking, is the Butler County law enforcement officials' claim true? And if so, what did the Secret Service do to secure the area with the AGR complex building? Rowe told senators during a hearing in the weeks following the first assassination attempt that what was communicated is the locals had a plan and that they had been there before in regard to the roof of the AGR building where Crooks took his shots from. This, he said, was directly disputed by law enforcement officials in interviews with the Grassley staff. Look, I'll tell you something. The local police officers there in Butler were the first on the scene. You could make a case, and I think it's a pretty strong case, that Donald Trump could well be alive today because they rattled that shooter's cage. They climbed up and looked at the guy. He knew he'd been found. He rushed his shot, and in the rush, he missed. That's very lucky that he missed, but he missed. And he knew he had been seen, and he rushed the moment that he wanted to, and was not calm, cool, collected. He was rattled, and no doubt the adrenaline was flowing. And I think that the Butler police officers probably had a lot to do with the fact that Donald Trump survived that attack attempt. The Secret Service did not have a plan to cover the obvious, problem there, which was that roof, which was a perfect line of sight to the podium. And the locals are not going to stand by and have the Secret Service pin it on them. And I'll tell you somebody else who's out there talking, it seems to me, my guess, just a guess, that a lot of the information that is coming from Secret Service whistleblowers probably comes out of that Pittsburgh office. Because, they're being, sort of looked at as the people who failed. But it seems to me the failure was on the part of the person in charge of the site. And that person failed, and apparently from what we're beginning to find out about that individual, she was not up to the task to which she had been assigned. So that's what seems to be shaping up in Butler. The rest of the information about the second one, every day we're getting new information, and maybe we'll get some more information after the Secret Service briefed the folks on Capitol Hill this afternoon. 21 past the hour. Let me tell you about the folks over at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. They're a good organization over there in Lebanon, Wilson County. They are the leader of weight loss management in Wilson County. You can call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, Restoration Wellness Med Spa, to book a consultation today. Now, my friends Carly and Jamie will take great care of you, just like you're part of the family. And you can be part of the more than 1,000 patients participants who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program there. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, and enhance your overall health. And I can speak from experience. I got on the scales this morning, down yet another 2 pounds. It's working for me. It will work for you. These are customized treatment plans, not one size fits all. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. So if your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or maybe improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn about the newest techniques in weight loss management. Just go to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
All right, thank you, Ken Weaver. We've been trying to figure out more about what happened in Beirut, Lebanon, and it has to do with, yesterday we had about 2,500 pagers that apparently, when a certain code was paged to them, they all exploded. And it took out and seriously injured a great number of Hezbollah fighters, people who were tied to the terrorist organization Hezbollah. And so, that we're now finding out that, that apparently somehow somebody, Israelis, they intercepted the pagers before they were distributed in Lebanon and inserted explosives. And, some people were seriously injured. Others were killed. I think the death toll yesterday was 9. And can you imagine the chaos when you take out a major part of the communication network and a great number of their key fighters, without ever, rolling a tank, or launching a jet, or firing a missile. You've softened the battlefield if you need to go in there. And in the meantime, they're in chaos. Day number 2, the walkie-talkies that they use exploded. And walkie-talkies, are bigger. You can pack a lot more explosive in it. And from what I have seen of pictures today in the aftermath, these explosions were formidable. Unprecedented. Here we go. Walkie-talkies explode in Hezbollah stronghold in second wave. 9 dead, 300 injured. Operation, let's read this story here. The BBC has begun tracking these reports in a live blog and has an image of smoke plumes rising over Beirut. Might not be coincidence. A security source now tells Reuters that handheld radios have been targeted in the latest attacks in Lebanon. A source says Hezbollah bought the radios 5 months ago. At the same time, they bought the pagers that exploded yesterday. The Jerusalem Post suggests the network devices may have gotten detonated in some fashion. Hezbollah has now warned all its personnel to stop using all communication devices, which, of course, degrades their ability to be an effective terrorist organization. According to unconfirmed reports, they've told operatives to distance themselves from all communication devices. Hezbollah has also told its members to dispose of all devices containing a lithium battery or that are somehow connected to the internet. Reuters later quoted senior Hezbollah official Hashim Safadine saying the terror group was in a new phase and punishment is certainly coming. New phase? Undeniably true, but Hezbollah may not realize yet what the new phase means. Punishment could be coming, but Hezbollah should direct it to the people who acquired and distributed those low-tech devices without looking to see if they've been tampered with. Wow. I mean, if it seems that this is the United States has denied all knowledge or responsibility of this. So you've got to look at this and say, well, this is got to be Israel, and who could blame them? Because Hezbollah is firing missiles into northern Israel, and by doing that, they're causing a real problem. And here you have a way to take out a great number of the fighters of the organization, the terrorist organization that is sworn to destroy you, and you haven't had to roll a tank or anything. Nobody's been put at risk. NBC News reports officials, Lebanese sources make clear that this new wave hit a broad number of targets. They report that the Biden administration had concluded that Israel is responsible for yesterday's attack, but not clear yet why they launched it now. So there you have it, the very latest. One day, it's pagers going off and exploding, and the second day, just when they're trying to put back, and they're relying on these walkie-talkies, apparently they would detonate when you push the button to actually begin a communication. That's when they would explode, when they're right up near your ear. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. What will day 3 bring? Who knows? 30 minutes now past the hour. I want to tell you once again about the good people at DT McCall's. I mean, how long have they been in business in Middle Tennessee as a family-owned business? More than a century. And that means that, they're not going anywhere. And you don't get to last that long unless you have a pretty good reputation for treating people right. Companies that don't deal with you honestly don't last that long. They really won't. So listen, if you need furniture, if you need any kind of appliance, if you need a big screen TV, you need a bedroom suite, I mean, whatever you need for your home, you're very likely to find it at DT McCall's at one of their 5 locations. One is no doubt near you. And when you go there and find something, you ask them, well, how much is this going to cost me? They'd say, well, here, you look at it and you say, well, that's a pretty good price. And you know what? Here's the difference between DT McCall and the big box stores. It will be an honest price. They're not going to then hit you for extra charges on delivery and setup and the haul away of the old thing. It's all included. Never pay extra for that because it's included in the original price that they give you, which will be a very good price. So listen, I think they're a great company. I bought a lot of stuff for them. You need a mower? Man, Cub Cadet mowers they sell are just the best. I've got one that's a total beast, and I just love it. I think you will too. All right, so listen, find out more about their 5 convenient locations, one of them no doubt very close to you, by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number 1, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number 2, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, and we have about 22 minutes to go before we get to the news and then move on to the Mark Levin show. Thank you so much for listening here this evening. Greatly appreciated. Got a lot of ground to cover. Today, the Fed slashed interest rates by a 0.5 point. Its first interest rate cut since the early days of the COVID pandemic, slicing 0.5 percentage point off benchmark rates in an effort to head off a slowdown in the labor market. They're trying to have a soft landing. I don't know if they'll get there or not. Some people think that by cutting a 0.5 point, they looked at the economy and felt that it was much softer than it needed to be, And so many people are wondering, are we headed into a recession? I don't know. Hard to tell by now. But they're trying to get a soft landing here, and they decided to cut it by 0.5 point. This helps you if you have high-interest credit card debt. Those interest rates could potentially be coming down. It could help you if you're thinking about trying to buy a home because the interest rates might come down a little lower. We're still a long way from where we were when we had 2% and 3% money, but at least we are heading in the right direction today. The other question is, was this something that was a real political move? In other words, they could have waited until after the election and it wouldn't have been considered political at all. But instead, they waited and did it now, just a few days before the coming election. Dock workers at key U.S. ports are threatening to strike, and that could be a problem. This is U.S. East and Gulf Coast threatening to take a strike on October 1. It would shut down some 36 ports, I read earlier today. 36 ports around the country. Not good for consumers. You may notice as soon as the ports shut down, shortages again. Remember, we had a problem with the ports before, and when they shut down the ports, during the COVID thing, you really had a situation where, we got short on some things. The things that you wanted, you couldn't find. So we still have some time. Could be resolved in the next few weeks. If not, get ready. Some of the things that you might want to buy may be hard to find. SpaceX. I love this story. Starlink is an amazing thing. It is an internet system where you put up a little satellite dish, you lay it out, and it locks in on the satellites. And the Starlink satellites they can provide you really pretty good and reliable and fast internet connection. And a lot of people in remote areas, this is just a godsend. In some countries where you don't have, great infrastructure, I'm thinking Africa, for example, other places, war zones, etc. Starlink has turned out to be a godsend for them because when they don't have the ability to get internet, they lose communications. Now they can keep the communication going. Comes word now that Hawaiian Airlines and others are now about to add Starlink to their aircraft. We're very excited that we have about 2,500 aircraft under contract now, bringing what was effectively a startup into what we think is a growing experience that's going to resonate with all passengers and the airline's world, says Nick Galano, SpaceX Director of Starlink Aviation Sales and Partnerships. So, many people, you get on a plane, and you find out that the internet that you're getting is very fast, and it comes from Starlink. Now, you might not know anything about Starlink, but now you've been exposed to it. You become a little impressed. You say, maybe I need to get me some Starlink, and where I live. I had a dish. I experimented with it when they were still. They didn't have near as many satellites as they do now. And I was on the Rio Grande border. I was right on the Rio Grande border down in Texas, sleeping in a yurt. And it had power to it. I plugged in the thing, set up and I watched a movie in a yurt in the middle of the Chihuahuan desert where there was no cell phone, there was no internet, and I watched a movie on my phone that evening using Starlink technology. That's how good it is. It was really never missed a frame of the movie. And that was way before they got all the satellites that they have up now. So my criticism of Starlink, if anybody cares, is that I had a billing problem and I could not get anyone. There are no human beings who will talk to you at Starlink to resolve a billing issue. And I finally, rather than run into any further problems, I just gave up on it.
Should have just sent Elon a message on Twitter.
I tried that. Believe me, I did. Elon, how do you get a hold of a human being at Starlink? He didn't pick up on it. So maybe that's better now, but I got to tell you, in the early days, it was maddening. I spent hours and hours and hours trying to find a human being who could help me resolve the billing issue, and I never could. I never got it straightened out. It's one of those things, where, you give them a credit card and the credit card got compromised.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to get in there and fix that, and you need somebody to help you with it. And, give them the new credit card number, and they were charging me, and it was bouncing every month. And I finally just said, I don't know what to do, but, somewhere out there may be a lien. Somebody's gone to a collection agency from Starlink trying to get me to pay, but I couldn't pay, and I couldn't get it straightened out, and I couldn't get anybody at Starlink to help me. So I just boxed the thing up and haven't used it. But it was impressive when it worked. I'll give them that.
It'd be nice to, because the airline Wi-Fi is generally terrible.
Not good. That's right.
Yeah, so hopefully
if this is really faster and really works, they say they can turn around one aircraft a day. So, they get the aircraft, they take the old, Wi-Fi out, and they put the new Wi-Fi in, and, they say it's really something. One day they can turn it around. Look, Elon. I love Elon Musk, but customer service is not his strong suit. Let's put it that way. Republican senators demand ABC News turn over any pre-debate communications they might have had with the Harris campaign. It became abundantly clear that ABC News and its respective moderators had a biased agenda, said Senator Roger Marshall, Republican of Kansas. Over 67 million Americans watched as policy exchange between the two presidential candidates quickly turned into a 3-on-1 debate against the Republican nominee. And they want to know, did you talk in advance? Any promises were made? Now, ABC doesn't have to respond to this. They probably won't. There's no reason that they would have to. But ABC News, here's the other thing. ABC News World News Tonight has driven away, because of the controversy, has driven away a part of its audience. They've lost millions of viewers. Muir and co-moderator Lindsay Davis fact-checked the former president 5 times without ever correcting Vice President Kamala Harris on her mistakes. World News Tonight averaged 6.7 million viewers on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, the 3 episodes following the debate, after averaging 7.6 million in 2024 leading up to the debate. So about 1 million and change. 1.2 million, I think that comes out to. In an obscure courtroom in Nevada, there is a huge battle underway for the Murdoch empire, which includes Fox News. What will happen after patriarch Rupert Murdoch dies? He's 93. Could his more moderate children wrest control of Fox News from his conservative chosen son, Lachlan? Could Lachlan's younger brother, James Murdoch, force Fox to take a progressive bent? These unknowns are at the heart of the Murdoch family's secret secession battle in an obscure Nevada court this month. Rupert Murdoch is seeking to amend the family trust that he established decades ago, giving his 4 oldest children equal votes over the future of the conservative media empire after he dies. He wants to change the structure so that Lachlan, who is conservative, will remain in charge for decades to come. If the elder Murdoch prevails before a probate judge in Reno, Nevada, then James Murdoch's path for a potential revamp of Fox News will be blocked. James is said to be much more progressive. He supports President Biden. He supports and endorsed Kamala Harris. The younger sibling is also privately likened Fox primetime shows to poison and bemoaned how the network's information distorts the public discourse. So if James gets a crack at Fox News, it might change. Lachlan is expected to continue to keep it a conservative organization. So that is all playing out. It's like what was that? That show Succession. It's sort of like that. That was supposed to be sort of modeled on the Murdoch family. So there's that. Americans can now renew their passports online. State Department launched its online renewal program nationally on Wednesday after a beta phase of the program ran for about 2 months. Deputy Secretary of State Richard Verma said that digitized applications should soon account for about half of the passport renewals in the United States. We think in the not-too-distant future, 50% of passport renewals will be done online. While the process to renew will become more seamless for citizens, that doesn't mean passports will be renewed any quicker. It's very slow. If you need to get a new passport, you better start early. But there you go. You must be 25 or older, have a passport that is or was valid for 10 years. The passport you're renewing was reissued between 2009 and 2015, or over 9 years, but less than 15 years from the date you plan to submit your application. You're not changing your name, your gender, your date of birth, or place of birth. You're not traveling for at least 8 weeks from the application date. You live in the U.S. You have your passport. It's not damaged or reported lost or stolen. You must pay with a debit or a credit card. But you can get your passport renewed online starting now. Finally, this Delta passengers, flight 1203, Salt Lake City to Portland, Oregon. Apparently the plane ran into problems with its pressurization system, and as a result, passengers said pressurization issues left many of them with bloody noses and ears. A spokesperson for the airline said the flight 1203 from Salt Lake to Portland was unable to pressurize above 10,000 feet. Crew members followed procedures to return to Salt Lake City, where teams on the ground supported customers with immediate needs. That's not good. Passenger Jackie Purser told NBC affiliate KSL that she felt her ears pop and a bubble of that because of the pressure in the cabin. She said felt that someone was stabbing her in the ear. Again, it's getting really dangerous these days to fly, it seems. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.